Right, okay, let's get into street talk then. As I said, mixed emotions about this week's Coronation Street from both of us, really. But
I'm going to try really hard to not be tired and grumpy.
Gemma's in a grumpy kind of frame of mind today.
I'm trying really hard.
Pick you up. I know, you did. It's fine. You'll be okay. You enjoy this bit. I'm going back with the headlines to start off, and skip ahead a few minutes if you don't enjoy this segment. Although I don't think anyone has told us that they don't yet.
Wow.
I thought that I was going to put it in the news, and then I thought no, maybe it's better here because it elicits discussion about what happened. But I'm going to keep going with it anyway. So Gemma, I've got a few for you to this week. Ready for the first one? Yes. Radio Times. Coronation Street. Some of these aren't very difficult. Coronation Street airs shock villain twist amid emergency for classic character in ITVX release. What is that talking about? Who is the shock villain twist? What's the emergency for classic
Rob's
character?
not dead.
No.
What?
Think about what happened in this week's Coronation Street. This is about this week's Corrie. Shock villain twist among emergency for classic character.
Oh, is this the classic episode?
No. This is modern. There's the
There's
most classic of characters.
Oh, Ken's out himself, and Cassie's done it.
Yeah, that was the shock villain twist, but they made it sound they had like a silhouette of somebody for the picture to accompany this article. So yeah, okay. Nottingham Post. ITV Coronation Street fans spot fascinating detail about Carla Connor's home.
She doesn't have anything in her cupboards.
No, it's not that. We know that she does because we've seen them.
Well, we opened them.
Yeah. What could be a fascinating detail about Carla Connor's home that Coronation Street fans have spotted this week? Can you throw a few out there?
Oh, she's got... Abby doesn't know. Yeah. She's got a sofa.
No.
I don't know. Give me a clue.
It's to do with rooms in her house.
She's got more bedrooms than you would imagine.
Actually, well, maybe I don't know.
Fewer bedrooms than you would think.
Considering the number of people that are staying there. Yeah, basically, it was basically people saying, "How on earth in this 2-bedroom flat are all these people staying there?" So that is the fascinating detail.
That is a work of art, that headline.
I know. I mean, we have to deal with this with all Coronation Street residencies, but there we go. Okay, Plymouth Live. Coronation Street fans work out Julie's plan as she's lying about cancer in sick twist.
Right, people think that she is just going to con them.
Yeah, and what's she going to try and get out of this by claiming she... Yeah, that's right, absolutely, bang on. They reckon that she's here to screw money out of her lovely sister Eileen, and she doesn't actually have cancer at all.
It's the best way to do it.
I don't think that's true, although I kind of wish it was. More on that later. Manchester Evening News. Coronation Street fans baffled by missing a character as they're left in tears amid actor praise.
It's not... Oh, Kevin... is got cancer, and Sophie and Rosie don't care.
That is a really good answer. It's not at all right, but I think that it would absolutely fit. So
is it to do with Kevin?
No.
Ken?
No.
Oh.
I know.
Actor praise?
Yeah, he's been praised on maybe a little few people's social media.
I didn't think any of them were very good. That's a joke. I really don't have an idea.
No, that's fine. The actor who's being praised here is, in fact, Anthony Cotton. And I thought you was quite
Violet.
good on Wednesday, Esther. Yeah. Where's Violet? Where is Violet?
For the other one, she's like, it'll be fine. I won't bother going to the next one.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were wondering whether Violet was going to appear at some point. I mean, I suppose they would have mentioned it, wouldn't they, by now?
Shut up about it,
but
probably.
Yeah, Violet for some reason didn't turn up for Dylan's sentencing.
Just embarrassing.
I'm starting to wonder whether she's going to turn up at all, over the next 6 months when it's probably quite important to. But yeah, oh well, maybe Jenny Platt has just got other plans on. Finally, Gemma,
I think she's died of cancer.
Oh, she might have done actually. Yeah, maybe. Okay, last one. This is just going to be obviously a complete guess because you won't know the answer to this. Ex-Coronation Street star issues brutal warning to ITV soap after latest exits.
It's going to be... Is it somebody who's a bit outspoken?
It is not particularly anybody who's known for giving brutal warnings.
So it's not Charlie Lawson or Vicky Endwhistle.
No, it's neither of those people.
Because they really do enjoy, don't they, a Twitter admonishment.
You're not going to guess, so just for fun, give me an ex-actor and what could their brutal warning to ITV soap be?
So I really do think Eileen Derbyshire's been quiet recently. I think it might be her. I think she's like, "What? Don't have Ken die." Because there's only so many ITV pensions to go around.
It's close, but no cigar for that one. This is actually Charlie Condu who's been talking.
He came up on my friend's... What's it called?
Did he? Was he suggested as a friend on
Friend
Facebook?
for me on Facebook.
Yeah, no, he's just been saying that soaps
Don't
need to
keep
watch out,
killing
really.
everybody.
He says, I know that they've been struggling with viewers. He played Marcus Dent, by the way, to anyone who's not sure.
He played the best stenographer that Weatherfield's ever seen.
They said, I know they've been struggling with viewing figures, but I think people don't watch television in the way that they used to. I haven't seen Corrie and Emmerdale for years, especially the younger generation. He's basically saying that younger people don't watch soaps anymore and they're on YouTube all the time. Soaps aren't going to be around forever. You've got to evolve and adapt and so on.
I genuinely
so
do
a bit of an overstatement from the headline there.
That there's a lot of scope now for spin-offs, and it's weird because I think a lot of people would kind of clutch their pearls about spin-offs, but spin-offs were the thing.
Yeah. That
Coronation Street used to do. They've had so many spin-off shows.
So what are you thinking?
I'm just thinking like a teen. I honestly, they really need to radically think about. My opinion, and this would also be roundly criticised, and people would lose their minds if this happened, and they'd be going, "Oh, this producer's lost their mind. I can't believe it. It's rubbish. Stupid idea." I would do like spin-offs with the teens, and I would literally make like minute-long TikTok videos about their lives and some kind of drama that they're doing. I would make it like that, and it would all tie into the show
to try and get people
to watch it. But everyone would hate the idea, and they'd all say, "I ruined everything."
I don't think people would hate that.
They would. Everyone moans about everything.
But
I'd complain.
Something else to
I
watch.
would complain because I'd be like, I'm not watching bloody TikTok.
They did that EastEnders. Was it just called E20 or something? The spin-off about 10, 15, 20 years ago. And that was about the youth of Walford.
That was probably ahead of its time, to be honest with you.
Yeah. But I wonder when they did that, did it mean fewer scenes with teens on the actual show? Because that's maybe what some people would be wanting and saying, well, let's get the drama with Betsy and Dylan and whatnot on the spin-off show, and then the main Coronation Street can have a bit of them, but more be focused on those classic, long-standing kind of middle-aged, 30s, 40s, 50s characters that we're saying we want more of. So
I think that there is room to really use social media.
There is room, but is there the money?
Make money out of it. But listen, I think obviously it's a stupid thing to say, but my idea to have people vote on something that happens in a live episode, EastEnders used that idea last week, and I'm not saying that I gave them that idea, but I am saying I also said that years ago, and so maybe I'm not as dumb as everyone thinks I am.
Sometimes you have good ideas.
And I don't think it's like I'm a genius who's come up with amazing ideas. It's so obvious that somebody would do a phone-in vote for something. I just never thought it would be the BBC, because you can't make money out of it. Like, the BBC, I don't think could make money out of it. Whereas ITV could be like, oh, enter this, tell us who you think Betsy should snog, and you could also win a holiday to Barbados.
And don't vote after 8 o'clock, because your vote still won't be counted, but you may still be charged.
Yes.
Right, okay, let's get on with this week's Coronation Street stories.
I'm surprised you didn't use the one that we...
Oh yes, we did. We were quoted in a Manchester Evening News article. It was me that put the tweet out.
I also did a couple of tweets, but I did them funny. They were funny when I did them. I don't normally like to moan on social media unless I'm making a joke.
Yeah.
Because I think
I did say what?
I think sometimes it just comes off like a bit more radical than we want it to.
I know.
Sound.
I didn't kind of. I do feel a little bit bad about it. But
you really were so mad.
I was. It's not often that I've got so mad at Coronation Street than I did on Monday. I'm over it a bit now. So sorry for anyone who's tuning in for the view me. I'm sure I'll get there a little bit. But I just put a tweet out saying how Corrie's
irreparably ruined her return.
They have totally have. Look,
and you know what the sad thing was? I was listening to another podcast, and then it queued up our podcast on the next play. Yeah. So I was like, just listen to this now. I can't be bothered to turn it off. And then
Can't be that
got
bad.
to the bit where we talked about Julie coming back, and we were so happy, and we were like, "Oh, Julie's brilliant! It's going to be so cool having her back. It's a breath of fresh air. She's so funny. She's so light. She's so vibrant. It's what the show needs. Lightheartedness, traditional old classic Corrie camp comedy." And this week she's like, "I've got cancer."
There's so much.
What are you
There's
talking
so
about?
much to talk about.
What
There. Let's
are you
leave it
talking
until
about?
we get that story. I didn't want to put that story first because I thought that we were queuing up the stories for this week. It might be wise to start with one that we were actually really quite on board with, and this is the Cassie and Ken story. I've just called the storyline after what I named the Street Talk short this week, which was, "Oh my god, she nearly killed Kenny." And I thought the Wednesday's episode was absolutely cracking. There was a new writer on
Yes.
Wednesdays, wasn't there? Sharing the bill with Jang McVery, Riz Moritz, I think it was, and she got what was the story about how she got the place on this?
It
You know
was
more than me.
No, I don't. You told me.
I can't
It was
remember
a rising star or leading lights or lights of the
it was
future.
a scheme last year
Yeah.
to get more people to get new names on
New people, underrepresented groups.
Yeah, that's it.
What about podcasters? They're underrepresented.
No,
I could do it.
There aren't any podcasters on the writing team, or either I don't know. But anyway, I thought they really pulled it out of the bag there.
Yeah,
Cracking
really,
job.
brilliant job.
Anyway, so we're going to be starting off with the OMG she nearly killed Kenny story. Then we have got a bit more of the daisies blooming. We know who the dad is now at last. The Julie story, I'm calling it Carpe Diem because she's going to be pushing up the daisies before the end of this, and I'm not talking about Miss Midgley.
I thought that you were just going to call this carping on because that's what we're going to be doing.
We are going to be doing a bit of carping on about Julie Carter. This is true. Dylan the villain is next. He's officially a villain. He's locked up in the prison with people with broccoli haircuts. I know you.
Every
said to me-
single person. What?
It's just, what did you say to me yesterday? The way he needs to integrate himself into the gang in the STC, I think, I can't remember, is by getting himself a broccoli haircut.
Every
That seems
single boy has the same hair.
I don't know how it works. Like,
Because they don't all have naturally curly hair. They can't.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Is it like,
be.
do they all have to sit there and have to perm it?
It wouldn't be beyond the realm of possibilities that, you know, teenage boys, they do care about how they look. Everyone makes fun of them. And it is, I'm sorry lads, it is a truly awful look. And you'll realise this in about 10 years.
Oh, that's what
time.
I'm thinking. It's like, I'm really happy
When
that
we
we've
were
got a
young-
star hairstyle like curtains.
When we were young, we had curtains, and they were also goofy as hell.
Adam
You looked
Rickett,
like
we're
an
looking at you.
absolute dipstick when you had curtains. But I remember watching The Lion King. You know when Simba grows into a man.
Yeah.
And they gave him curtains because he was a cool teen.
My friend Roy had curtains for a bit, but yeah. So Dylan the villain is this fourth story. Are they going to talk a bit about more of the more cancer, the grease monkey nuts story? Sorry, Kevin. Looks like you got it a little bit longer.
Kevin, honestly, what are you trying to do here? Muscle in on Julie's territory?
I know. I think they should just be put head to head and see who deals with it better. It's funny.
Who dies first?
Well, this Kevin's not going to die from this, is he? But he's, to look at his face.
He's upset.
Yeah, I suppose
I'm being flippant about this, but
it's because
to preserve my mental. It's to protect my brain because I just can't. I honestly
cannot do it.
I wouldn't watch this show now. If I was not doing this podcast, I would have stopped watching Coronation Street at the moment.
I've seen a lot of people this week saying this has been the straw that broke the camel's back.
Just not something I want to hear anything about.
I think Kevin's going to be absolutely fine, but it's just a miserable,
and I
miserable
don't know whether
Fridays episode.
I've just got, what have I got? Like, is Coronation Street doing immersion therapy on everybody? Like, everyone's going to get cancer, so let's just talk about it until you're not scared anymore.
Maybe it is.
It's not going to work.
Finally, we've got a couple of mini storylines that only showed their face a little bit. The Rob on the Run story, still out there, isn't he?
Yeah.
Still unaccounted
He's
for.
He's got cancer, though, apparently.
And also, Max temperature, the heat is on. We had a little bit more of the Platt story. I don't think we actually saw Max this week, but David's still getting up to naughty business.
Well, he got accosted.
He did get accosted.
Those blokes, did you see? They didn't show it on because it was too traumatic, but they were all like smoking and blowing the smoke in his face to give him cancer. And we'll find out this week.
I know more about that soon when he gets diagnosed. Yeah. Oh gosh. Right, look, shall we get cracking with this? Let's talk about a story that we really did quite enjoy, particularly Wednesday's episode. Cassie and Ken, the truth at last is out, and I was so thrilled with how it all came out. It was fab on Wednesday.
It was absolutely it was great. It was really great, and I'm sorry if I'm upsetting anybody by loving Cassie for like I know loads of people hate her and rightly so, but the entertainment, you cannot deny. Well, you can. If you didn't like it, you won't like it. But the entertainment factor of this character is far beyond anything I ever expected, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because she's so interesting. Also, the way that she just kind of like went, yeah, I did actually do that. She didn't try to weasel out of it like most other characters would have tried to like deny it or blame somebody else.
Tracy certainly would if it had been there. She would have been on.
But she was just like, look, hold my hand up, and like she actually like went through like, this is all the things I've done, and this is why I did them all, and I don't expect anyone to forgive me. And I really appreciated that about her, because she was just totally frank, and even though her excuses were sort of pathetic.
Oh, totally. She
like
completely inexcusable.
There is no world in which I think this was a good idea, or like I would never think any of this.
Even do it to my worst enemy, or even Bobby.
No, but
to Ken Barlow,
when she's saying it, you are like, yeah, I can see why you thought this was a good idea, even though you are stupid. Like. Lots of people do really dumb things.
I think I was in a bit of a minority on Wednesday, but I really, really felt for her, and I sympathised with her so much. And I was like, "Oh, poor Cassie, you silly idiot." And I know not many people thought that, but I sometimes when they have villains or characters make bad choices, and then we're supposed to forgive them for no particular reason. It's like with Max, for example, and you still got a bit of a grudge. And Lauren. You can't forgive her for what she's done in the past, but I need no convincing to feel sympathy for Cassie.
Well, what I want to say about Cassie is that, say what you like about whether you hate her or not, that's really part of what Corey wants, right? They want you to hate her, but you cannot deny that this whole story makes sense, and you understand why she did it. And Coronation Street is.
What do you mean it makes sense?
How she decided, oh, this is a good idea. Like, she explained herself, and you watched her doing it, and you can see why she's done it, right? It's not a good idea.
Sometimes you do just fall into doing silly things, and then it becomes a habit.
I'm just saying to you, how many villains on Coronation Street turn up, and they're like, I'm going to shoot you. Why? Because it's in the script. Yeah. I'm a villain. I'm a gangster. I'm a criminal. I'm a drug dealer.
Fear me.
But why?
Meet me in an alley.
Like that stupid nonsense with when Gareth Pearce turns up.
Welsh Todd.
Welsh Todd turns up and he's like, I've got a gangster after me. Why? I don't know. Why not?
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. And like even like this might ruffle some feathers, but even Rob to a certain extent. Why didn't he just bugger off when he escaped from prison? Why didn't he just run away? Why did he like kidnap Carla and beat up like Swain for what? Revenge? I guess so, but we don't really know why he did it. He was just being naughty. He's just like, I'm the criminal.
Yeah, it was we need some high octane drama to go against the EastEnders 40th anniversary.
What was he trying to achieve, and how did he think? What was his plan? At least with Cassie, you know what she was trying to achieve, and you know how she was doing it, and you know why she was doing it. Whether all those things actually make sense and you think they're a good idea is completely irrelevant. The fact is that the character had a plan, and she enacted the plan, and it made sense.
Yeah.
Do you not get what I mean?
I do.
Just because it's stupid.
Lots of people will say, it was stupid, but it still kind of made sense.
Doesn't mean that it wouldn't make sense to the person who's doing it. If you can say that, like if you're going to start saying, oh, this doesn't make sense, you can say that about anyone in prison doing any crime ever. Yeah, it doesn't make sense because it's against the law, but people are dumb and they do make bad decisions. At least it makes sense.
I think so, but I do think we're in a bit of a minority here. I can't remember. I told you I DM'd Claire Sweeney on Wednesday night, and I said it was a jolly good episode, and she said thanks very much. She said she's glad that there seems to be a bit of a redemption for her. So
I don't think it,
like her or not, it does feel like she's staying. And I for one am pleased with it. So anyway, what went on this week is Ken starts to put the pieces together on Monday when Cassie gets more deliveries. Last week it was air fryers. This week an iPad is due to be delivered, and we see her getting these messages up on her phone. I think it literally said iPad is out for delivery, rather than just, your package is coming this afternoon. It's like, no, we need the viewers to know it's an iPad. Okay, I don't think that's how it works, but sometimes you have to suspend your disbelief with some things. That's the most nonsensical thing about this story, Gemma, I tell you. So she hides this message when Steve comes in, and he's offering her a lovely lunch out at Delphine's, which was a nice callback to 20 years ago. I think that was one of the restaurants of choice. Before the days of the bistro and speed dial, people actually had to step out of their street if they wanted a fancy nosh up. So Delphine's, the Clock, Valandro's. Long gone are the days when they actually visit real restaurants. Although I think Valandro's was a set, but never mind. Anyway, he's like saying, look, I'm sorry for suspecting you of swindling Ken before. I know you're totally on the level, Cassie. Let's go out and have a romantic meal. So Cassie scurries back to number 9 and tells Fizz...
She's been eating something.
Who has?
Abby.
Why? How do you know?
She's licking her chocolate. I have to go and see what she's been eating because there's no food there.
Okay, let's just
pause it.
Just pause it while we investigate. 2 minutes later, Gemma's back.
I think I've been bamboozled by a cat. She tricked me.
Why?
I left some chicken out to cool down to go into the fridge, and she hadn't eaten it, but she tricked me into giving her some food.
Oh, well, that's she's going to use that one again, isn't she? Look, anyway, let's back to this. So, Cassie's gone back to number 9, tells Fizz about this dinner invite. She's all giddy about the fact that she's going out with Steve. It's all very fun. And Fizz says, I'm going out. And Cassie wants her to get some more drowsy antihistamine liquid to continue her poisoning rampage that she's going on because she's nearly out. Ken, meanwhile, it's not meanwhile, it's later on, I think, back at number 1, Ken saying to Amy, I want to go and browse the bookshop on Tile Street later on. What an afternoon of fun Ken's got ahead of him on Monday. And Cassie, at this point, doesn't want to go out. She's trying to delay it, isn't she?
I'm not sure. That was what I thought, maybe.
I think that's what it was. Because of the iPad coming and she wants to be there to receive it. That kind of makes sense for me. And she's like, Ken, do you want to have a nice cup of tea? We see her pouring more of the medicine into it.
If Ken is asleep, he won't know that the iPad's come. So if I'm not in, then they'll just leave it.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Anyway, so Ken's later on, he's saying, look, Cassie, go off to your restaurant. It's been going to be okay. So Cassie she's looking forward to the restaurant, but she's got no choice, really. She can't tell Steve, hang on a minute, I just need to wait for my naughty iPad to arrive.
I think she gets a text message again, it will come later on. So she's like, maybe I got
time. Oh, did you? Oh, okay.
I really don't know. I think we missed... It doesn't...
It's
not relevant at this point.
Anyway, so they get back home, and the iPad has arrived. Amy's got it. She's merrily tapping away on it, and Ken said, oh yes, actually, I thought it might come in handy for Amy's studies. So Cassie just squirming away at this. And I guess, at what point is Ken's suspicion starting to be raised? It feels like...
It's now, because he gave it to Amy to see how Cassie would react.
Yeah. I
love
absolutely love that Ken is the one who brought her down. If it had been anyone else, it wouldn't have been anywhere near as satisfying as this.
Can we just give props to Don Keone, like we used to say before? Like, he's still got it.
He really does. What is he, 92, 93?
William Roach is still great.
And
I also just want to give props to Coronation Street for making him the centre of a story.
Yeah.
And... I'm just loving, because every so often we'll watch an old episode on YouTube or something from the 60s, and we watch him when he was a young man, and it's just really lovely to know that you're watching the same show 60.
Yeah.
We
were watching one the other day, and he was there talking on the street to can't remember Albert or something, and it's like we're still watching him.
And actually, I just want to say this too. I do think that Ken is better than he has been for, like, there are points, I'm gonna say, in Coronation Street where he was a boring old fart, and he wasn't actually an interesting character, but now he really is great.
Yeah, I mean, he still didn't appear in loads of episodes. I think when we looked at the episode counts for last year, we were quite surprised how few he'd appeared in. But you wouldn't know, because
they make them count.
That's it. They make him count. They give him some agency. And unfortunately, with some of the other older characters, they're just there to appear in the backgrounds or pop in and say hello and order a drink or whatever. But
not everybody can have a main story. But Ken is really still just doing great.
Yeah.
And it is sad to compare, and I don't normally like to call out too much, but like Helen Worth's exit story, Ken feels way more present in this, which is basically a B story of a week, than she did in her own exit story.
Yeah, for sure. It's brilliant, and
her absence was very, very noticeable from her own story, and I tried not to harp on it at the time too much because everyone else was doing it for us. But with Ken,
we're creeping close to him being in it when he's still 100, and
wow,
it's incredible.
He's always said he wanted to.
He has. He's always said he wanted to be the first act soap star to be still in it when they're 100, and. With what we saying this week, there's no reason to think.
Fast.
I know. But he was just wonderful, absolutely.
I just say be happy with what we got.
I'm really, really happy with what we got from
really
Ken.
Great stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, towards the end of the episode, Ken catches Cassie. She picks up the iPad just to have a look at it, and he says, "Oh, this is weird. I don't remember ordering it, to be honest. Same with the air fryer. How odd. Oh, I haven't been feeling myself for weeks. Am I losing my marbles?" And I think he's trying to guilt trip her a little bit there. He seems to have twigged.
He's trying to see what she's going to react.
Yeah. She says, "Oh, it's probably long COVID or something. It'll pass." But I kind of got when he was saying, "Oh, I'm losing my marbles." I did feel the emotion there.
Yeah, me too.
So, but is that just Ken being a really good actor?
No,
and trying to trick Cassie really well, or is he worried about it?
This was fascinating to me because I think Cassie's not really thought about Ken's feelings. She cares about herself first, and she thought it was kind of harmless because old people sleep all the time. Giving him a nap, is that a bad thing? No, not really. He's fine. I'll look after him anyway, so he's not coming to any harm. He's just having more naps than normal. It's fine, right? But then you see the emotion in Ken's face, and I think this is when it starts to catch up to Cassie that she's actually playing with his mental health, not just his physical health, not just making him feel drowsy, but he's genuinely starting to worry and think to him, am I losing it? Is this? And also when you're old and your health starts to decline, if you're you don't know if it's am I just sick, or is this me now forever? Am I going to never get better from this? Am I going to carry on declining? And the thought of that must be absolutely terrifying. Yeah. And to think that poor Ken's been living with this, worried about himself and thinking, I'm dying basically. And I've got, I'm never going to be bright and sparky again. I'm always going to be tired all the time. That's horrific.
Yeah, totally.
And she's done that to him.
We had seen that looks on her face over the past few months when she's doing it. You can tell that she's regretting it, but you're right. I think this was a bit of a turning point for her to realise, this
isn't a game.
No, but I don't know whether it would. It clearly wasn't enough to stop her, because the next day she, with the new bottle of medicine, she just starts it over again. She's just got addicted to this habit that she knows is bad for both of them, but she can't stop it because she is profiting from it.
Well, this is
in a seemingly harmless way.
This is the factitious disorder imposed on another, or Munchausen's by proxy. It genuinely is, because you're making someone else sick to benefit yourself. And you only really hear about it with mothers and children. But it is just benefiting yourself by making someone sick. And this is what she's doing.
Yeah, totally. So Wednesday was the grand denouement of Cassie. And it starts with her and Steve all over each other in the kitchen, which Tracy doesn't appreciate when she barges in there. Then Ken comes in, and apparently Brian has told him, so he says, that he needs to be checking his bank account for scammers. Can I use the laptop, please, Cassie, to have a look at it? And she's like, "Oh, no, it's just downloading an update at the moment. Just have a nap. Have 40 winks, Ken, for a little bit, and we'll do it afterwards." And you can see her brain's really panicking at this point, because she knows that he wants to look at his accounts. He's not been doing it before. She wants to just get him asleep for a little bit so she can try and figure out how on earth she's going to explain this. But he's saying, I'll go to sleep. Sits down in his armchair. Cassie, can you go and get some chocolate from the shop, I think, wasn't it? And one of the moments of the week for me, when she walks out of the house, then his eyes just flick open.
Oh, it was great. It was so camp.
It wasn't like Rob Donovan last week with that when he comes back from the dead. It was just that I am pretending to be asleep. I've bloody well got you. It was brilliant.
It was so funny.
And then you get the scene where he's at the table later. She's back. She's made more tea, and he is totally.
Well.
It is a well moment, isn't it? She brings the cups onto the table, then goes back into the kitchen. He switches them, and he does it just quite proudly, doesn't he? He's like, I'm not going to try and hide this. They're two different cups. She's not going to know that I haven't done it, but I don't care because I've bloody well got her. And then she comes back in, and the expression on his face when he picks up what had been originally her cup and takes a smug swig from it was absolutely brilliant. It's like, what are you going to do about it, bitch? I'm drinking your drink. And then Cassie is obviously then stuck in a position like, oh, what do I do? Do I have to drink this one now? And he does stop her, doesn't he? He's like, he says, there's more to tea in that mug, isn't there? Cassie, talk to me. And fuming Ken is brilliant. I love an angry Ken. He's still got it.
It reminded me of what happened at the end of the Who Pushed Ken story, where he gets all of the Barlows and associates together in the room, and they all know that it was Daniel that pushed him. And he's like, all of you had a reason to push me down the stairs. Yeah. You've all been absolute arseholes. None of you are going to dob Daniel in, but you're all going to start acting like a family from now on, and I put my bloody foot down. Yeah,
well, this is where I was wondering that it was going to go with Cassie, and was he going to say, look, I'm going to forgive her, so everyone else are going to forgive her too, but he doesn't. No. He's like absolutely fuming at her.
Yeah. And because I think he's staring death in the face, and he thought he was dying, and now he realises this woman who's supposed to look after him, who he put his absolute faith and trust in, has actually just been a viper.
Yeah. And she's there kind of snivelling away, saying... and she, like you said earlier, she doesn't try to hide anything that she's done. She knows that, she's got to come clean to this. And he's like, what was the plan? Finish the old guy off? Were you sticking around until the premium bond money finished, or were you waiting until I slipped into a coma? It just takes you... But there's so many times when Ken has got mad, most famously when he pushed Deirdre up against the door then, and... Who'd have thought that 42 years later he'd still be yelling at women in his house in the same room, who's still fuming away that somebody has wronged him, because woe betide you if you try and pull the one over Ken Barlow's eyes. And so she's like, oh, I'm really, really sorry. I didn't have a plan. You said earlier that she did have a plan and she enacted it, but
yes, she did. There wasn't a long-term plan.
No, she's like. Yeah, there
wasn't an end
I just
goal.
Started it, and I didn't know where it was going to go. I was just taking advantage of you, and she confesses everything, and he is so livid. He's like, "Oh, these times I've defended you." Meanwhile, while all this is going on, by the way, Steve is still waiting for Cassie in the bistro to turn up.
I thought they were going to... Oh,
no, Delphine's was Monday. Yeah, this is Wednesday now. Fancy food 2 days in a row. Tracy's there in the bistro as well, kind of snarking on about it, saying, oh, you're waiting for Cassie, are you? You're not serious about her, are you? And he's like, I kind of am, actually. So poor Steve gets his heart broken in Wednesday's episode. Ken, meanwhile, is ordering Cassie to leave, and she's like crying her little heart out. She's saying, oh, don't tell Tracy, don't tell Ken. And he says, just go, you go. And she's like, oh, you don't have to tell me twice. Scarpa's out the house. And then he has a bit of a heart attack, doesn't he? Poor old Kenny. He's as he's fuming at Cassie and she's snivelling away. He's there. You can see that he's like holding clutching where his heart would be, but it's not kind of started yet. But you can see the prickles coming on, and then as soon as she's gone, it kind of comes on full on. He tries to use a phone, drops it on the floor, collapses onto the chair. You knew that it was going to be okay, but it was a great moment.
Something I don't know. Does anyone know the answer to this? If he had just sat down and suddenly been very calm, would he have not had a heart attack? Or once it starts, is it inevitable? I do not know the answer to that question at all.
Well, I mean, he clearly had, there was a heart condition there because he had to get the stent fitted. It wasn't Cassie that made his aortas block up. But, yeah,
it was all that hearty vegan food.
He just had to think soothing thoughts. Lie back and think of Deirdre, and everything would have been okay. Put on a bit of Debussy, maybe. That's his music of choice.
I did think to myself, am I just a massive hypocrite? Because this did not bother me, and I wasn't like fuming and posting on Twitter going, why are we having another heart attack? Gail had a heart attack last year, why are you having another one? I don't know why it doesn't bother me as much as the cancer stuff. Well, I mean, I do know exactly why, and but why not kick up a fuss about this? Is this triggering to people?
I don't. Cancer is a much more long-term story usually, and it's about slow declines and misery. And you generally on Coronation Street, if somebody has a heart attack, they're either on a slab, the next week,
well, I do
or
feel
they're
that
absolutely
way
fine.
About in real life, like not that you're absolutely fine, but I think a heart attack, you either they treat you, and maybe you can't do this or that, or you have something and you have to recover. But it's not like, and obviously you'll never be completely back to normal, I guess. But it's not quite the same, is it?
No, it's not the same at all.
We are all quite scared of cancer. I'm not really scared of heart attack, but I do not rule out having one.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? It's
and I mean, like my dad's had a heart attack, like.
Yeah, just last year.
Was
it last year?
Yeah. At the same time I had cancer again. So, but this doesn't upset me as much as the cancer thing does.
Yeah. Anyway, we know that Ken's going to be okay.
Ken's fine.
Yeah, but
can you imagine if you were a producer who went, I'm gonna axe William Rose, like I would march. I would go to London and like stand in the street with a sign.
When Steve and Amy come back to the house later and they find him there, you turned and said to me, imagine if they did. Just imagine if they were to spring Ken Barlow's death on us. Obviously, they never would. If they ever do kill off Ken, it's going to be, they're going to be singing it from the hills to try and get as many people as possible. No, they would never,
ever. I do, like, of all the people who've ever been in Coronation Street, I think Ken Barlow is the one I'm least ever expecting to see die on screen. Unless William Roach says, that's it, I'm done, I'm not doing it anymore. I just think he will.
I think I would prefer to see him die on screen, because it's always feel
well, it's sad,
morbid, isn't it?
It is very morbid.
It's sad when you get to, like Blanche and Betty, that
you don't get to see them.
You don't get. No.
Well, this is the thing. This is the trouble.
It feels like there's a bit of closure, isn't it?
This is the trouble with having
Deirdre, obviously,
a cast, and also, I mean, they've chosen to have a story about a man who in real life is 90 odd having a heart attack. So they've kind of invited this conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so I've kind of skipped all around with my notes at the moment, but Ken's trying to sit up. There's one little scene where he tries to sit up and reach the phone from the floor, but he's too out of puff and he slumps back down. Cassie turns up at the bistro, sees Steve, doesn't smile, and again, kind of, is this fair play to her? I think she was going to confess, wasn't she? And then Amy comes in.
No, she goes to the loo.
Yeah, she goes to the loo first, and then she sits down with Steve, because Tracy, oh yeah, that's it. Tracy's the one that finds Ken. Yeah. Tracy comes in, Amy's there, and poor bloody Tracy, she thinks that she's literally found her dead dad here.
Yep.
And she's a massive cowbag, but she does have a bit of a heart in there.
Anyone would.
The only other person other than herself and maybe Amy on a good day that she loves is her dad Ken. And so Amy gets sent off to the bistro, and Cassie is about to say something to Steve at this point, and maybe if she hadn't gone to the loo, she would have had the opportunity to confess.
This was the perfect let me tell you first, wasn't it? Because Cassie's trying to talk and get a word in edgeways, and Steve is like, oh, I think you're great,
who'd have thought that somebody like you and somebody like me and Cassie, I don't know whether she did say it and I missed it, or whether it's going to come up next week. She's going to say, I was going to say something, and they were like, oh yeah, that's all good.
I don't think it's all under the
But she clearly was going to say something there, but she doesn't get a chance because Amy rushes in, pulls Steve away and saying, oh, you got to come quick, Grandad isn't well. So they go back to number one, and Cassie's there clearly thinking, oh my gosh, I've killed Kenny.
I know.
Basically. And she's like, he was fine when I left, honestly. And he kind of was. I mean, would she have noticed the signs that he was scratching at his chest, or was she too heightened to notice that?
I genuinely think if she had stayed, it would have made it worse.
Maybe.
Because he would have been like agitated even further, going, get out, get out, get out. He didn't want her in there. Part of the reason he had the heart attack in the first place was he was telling her to get out.
Yeah, I mean,
what could you do?
He obviously had the problem with his heart, but she's the one that raised his raised his pulse quite so much that it came to a breaking point.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, she's thinking, what on earth have I done here? Have I killed
But
the old duffer?
I bet you a little part of her head is like, this problem may solve itself if I wait a bit longer.
It depends. Like, if Ken had died there, she wouldn't have got away with it because whoever, Amy, I guess, or Peter, would have then got access to Ken's bank account.
No, and seen what?
And seen the things that she'd bought.
Yeah, but she just say he's been buying it. Everybody knows. She already covered her tracks.
But the two air fryers, I don't think that'd been
she'd just be like,
had it?
well, look, number
going around
one,
the
it's
twist
not
of it.
impossible to accidentally order two of anything, and she's already covered her tracks, and she's kind of like managed to make it look as though she's absolutely in the clear the last time she was challenged.
Yeah, I don't.
She would have got away with it. She would have got. If he had died, she would have got away with it.
I wonder if he had the heart attack while she was there. Would she have gone and asked for help?
Yeah, she would have.
Or would she have said, "I'm just going to leave him and let him expire"?
I can't imagine.
But then, in the world of Coronation Street, you look at Abby. She left Toya to die, and the house wasn't on fire, was it? But no. she probably could have done a bit more to have helped her.
What if she'd gone to see him in the hospital and he was in the bed and she'd like got the pillow and been like, Kenny?
Oh my gosh, that's very dark. Anyway, ambulance is on its way.
Would you have forgiven her? No.
I don't think...
I can see why she did it. I can see why she was doing it. Don't agree necessarily.
Darn Claire Sweeney and her natural charms. Anyway, waiting in the hospital later, they're waiting to find out what's happened. The doctor comes out and says that yes, Ken has had a heart attack. Who'd have thought? They need to give him a stent. That to me felt like, oh, here we go again, because that's what Roy had less than a year ago.
This is the third heart attack in.
Yeah.
You know, and with the cancer, it's actually the third cancer storyline in 7 months and 2 in the same week. So
yeah. So anyway, a stent. I was like, oh, okay, maybe that's a common thing, but it feels like they're redoing the Roy story. But never mind, it's not a story about a stent, is it? Anyway, next few hours could be critical. He's saying, if there's anyone else that you need to call, do it now.
Don't worry about it. We don't know anyone else.
Well, you said, well, who do they need to call? They went and got Adam from the pub, didn't they? I don't know whether anyone's thought to tell Peter or Simon about this, or...
No, they're just merrily sailing around.
Yeah.
No, not care in the world.
Yeah, on the seven seas.
Yeah.
Who else would need to know that isn't in the...
Lawrence.
Oh, yeah, of course. Ken's other sons, a son and grandson, maybe. Or Wendy, maybe. Might be nice to tell Wendy. Kevin's still got a number, because she's always looking after Alpha. I don't know.
Daniel is the only
Maybe
one.
Denise, possibly. I don't know. But anyway, obviously they're just doing all this to heighten the drama. We knew that Ken was going to be absolutely fine, but it felt suitably tense, even though we knew it would be absolutely fine. I wasn't going, oh yeah, whatever. I was like well in on this.
But it's weird though, because this was like the third character who's like, I mean, do you count Julie as a main character? Yeah.
Maybe.
Like 3 characters in like mortal danger in the same week, and I mean, none of
Julie's not in mortal danger. She's in imminent
in
termination.
Danger.
Yeah.
What do you think mortal danger means then?
Well, she's not danger. She's not like she know. You know, I wasn't there thinking, oh my gosh, you could drop dead at any second.
Can you imagine if he went in to be told that he had cancer and the doctor was like, danger! You're in danger.
Yeah, no. See, she's taking it on the.
So you're like saying you're not in danger because it's no like
she's
danger.
She's an endangered species.
Saying danger makes it seem like there's a hope, there's a possibility of escape, but you're not in danger because you're definitely going to die.
Well, yeah, maybe. Yeah, that kind of makes sense, I suppose. Anyway, look.
That's a very brutal way of looking
Ken's
at it.
Possibly on the way out. Go and get Adam from the pub. But he wakes up and he's like, Cassie.
He should have done the same thing, like, whoa.
Yeah, he should have done. He should have done the Rob Donovan special, shouldn't he? But anyway, Cassie, meanwhile, is doing the... have we mentioned this on the podcast before? It feels like it's maybe something that we just say to each other when we're watching it. Whenever anyone is packing to leave in Coronation Street, you know, all of their clothes and pants and like, they've always got the case on the lounge table.
Yeah, they always do it that way.
I would say in real life, if you're packing to leave, you'd probably be doing most of the packing in your bedroom. But no, Evelyn went the other day. Dining room table, the perfect place to pack your case, apparently.
Where do you put your stuff that you're going to put in your case when you're taking it from where it is kept, aka your bedroom, to the front room to then put it in your case?
It doesn't
How
quite
are you doing
hold
it
up,
that way?
I suppose I wouldn't want them to waste money building a set just for this. She's going to do a runner, and she takes one last look at the front room, has a bit of a sob.
What have I done?
But then little Hope gets in the way of her escape, doesn't she? Because she's having boy problems.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Yeah, and poor old...
I don't care about your boy problems. I've got a man problem.
Poor old Hope. She's been knocked back by Jack, hasn't she? Who she's been given the brush off by. And Cassie's trying to find the car key so she can go. But Hope's like, no, Grandma, don't go, Nana or whatever she's called. Listen to me. You're the only one who can. And it felt a little bit contrived, but I'm glad it worked.
I don't really
to stop
get
her.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
What?
It was it's fine.
Teenage girls and their problems, you know. Tracy catches Cassie trying to do a flit eventually, though, when she's able to get away from Hope, and calls her, among other things, a hollow, pathetic excuse for a human being. They just have a
this
massive,
was a good showdown, wasn't
this
it?
is a great slanging
Tracy
match.
literally catches Cassie in the act of trying to run away.
Yeah.
She's fresh from the hospital, seeing her dad in mortal peril. And
correct use of the term.
There is Cassie, the perpetrator, just about to escape, and so she as a go, she launches herself.
Launches her, grabs her by the hair.
This was great.
Police have arrived at this point as well because they've obviously been called in to report them. Police officer played by Rob Mallard's boyfriend. Yeah. Nice little cameo there. Yeah. And Tracy's like, arrest the bitch. It was brilliant. It was a super classic, amazing Corrie showdown. I was all in for it.
Well, Cassie's also going, you're just jealous because Ken would rather spend time with me than his flesh and blood. True. I guess it's not real flesh and blood, is it? And she's like, shut up!
Yeah, it was so good. I really, really loved it.
This was really, I do like to I like a cat fight. Sorry, I do.
Yeah, it was very fun. Thursday,
drugging with intent to harm. She's been arrested for.
Yes, exactly. Thursday, I didn't feel kept the momentum up quite so well. Unfortunately, I mean that was obviously the big climax on the Wednesday. But yeah, Thursday was always the what happens next, and it's like, oh yeah, we should never trust.
There's lots
Cassie.
of bitching about Cassie.
Lots of bitching about Cassie. Tracy, Amy, and Steve spend most of the episode around Ken's bedside.
Terrible.
And Cassie's been released from the police station by this point.
Yeah, apparently they just don't. They're like, well.
I don't think she's she's a menace to society, is she? She's
come on! Yeah, but they made it seem like the police were like, well, I can't really do anything about it.
She just says they probably just said, just don't go offering anyone else cups of tea. Your bail conditions, and you'll be fine. I think she's
your bail conditions are you can't make tea for anyone.
Yeah. Maybe I'll try that excuse next time it's my turn to brew up. Sorry,
I've been poisoning old people.
You're going to have to do it yourself this one time, Gemma. Cassie's over at number 9, meanwhile, and she's trying to explain herself to Fizz and Tyrone. And you pointed out that Jenny and Alan's facial expressions there were good, didn't you?
They were fascinating because Tyrone, they were both shaking their heads, but Fizz was like going, oh, yeah.
There seemed like there was an ounce of sympathy there.
And then Tyrone was just shaking his head like, no, shut your face.
Tyrone had furrowed brow, angry eyebrows there, didn't he? He was like, I am disgusted with you, mother. But
I was expecting, like you said, I thought the way Fizz's face looked, I thought she was going to sympathise a bit with Cassie, but she was like, no, you're out, you get out, you're going.
She speaks to her more calmly though, doesn't she? She just says, give me your keys, you're going.
No choice here.
Don't want the girls around to listen to this, don't want them to see you've screwed up, Cassie, you've really blown your chances here. I'm going to work now, don't be here when I get back.
Aww.
Bye. So Cassie's left around with Tyrone, who's still fuming. He's just really, really disappointed in her. Poor old Tyrone. I mean, he knew that Cassie was a bit of a dodgy bird, but I think he thought he's not as bad as Jackie. And this is probably
chance with a mum.
I'm gonna say this is probably worse than anything that Jackie Dobbs actually did.
Well,
on paper.
you're not going to be boasting about it in the Rovers, are you?
No. So, the family are still with Ken later when... Who should show up at the door next? No, not Peter. No, not Simon. No, not Wendy Papadopoulos. But Cassie, who is, again, fair play to her. She wasn't going there to try and weasel her way out of it, although it made absolute sense for Tracy to say, well, this is what you're doing.
Yeah.
She wanted to try and say her piece and explain herself, even though it is inexplicable. And she just says, please, no, don't you even come near him.
Well, this would have been really hard. In real life, this would have been really hard to do. To go back to somebody and say, I'm so sorry.
The easy thing to do would have been over the hill, far away, never speak to them again. And especially if you knew that not only the person you were poisoning was going to be there, but also their vindictive stepdaughter.
Family that never liked you in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. So, but Ken, again, fair play to him, says, no way, I want to hear what you had to say. And it wasn't, I want to listen to what you have to say because I might forgive you. No. Because he doesn't at the end.
Like, how are you going to try and justify this?
Yeah. He just wants to know the full picture, which I think is very, very much in character as a big old know-it-all like Ken. So she says, look, it's unforgivable what I've done. I thought it was a way to make easy money, but she keeps saying, I did enjoy caring for you though, and I totally bought that. He's saying, all this time you're pretending to enjoy Debussy and talking to me, and she's like, no, Ken, honestly, I really, really did. The more I got to know you, the guiltier I felt about it. I feel so ashamed of myself.
Any point. That's the thing about this. It wasn't like she had made a choice that then sent her on a path that was an inescapable.
No, she could have stopped at any time.
She could have literally she was just benefiting from money. And she was saying, like, I've always been skinned. This is the first time I've ever had a job.
Yeah, she's lived a proper rough life.
Hell, Cassie, you've messed up so badly. I can't even begin to tell you how much it's a stupid idiot. So Tracy's like, I'm not having any of this, and Cassie says to Ken, Tracy's just as bad as I am. She's just waiting for you to die so she can get her hands on your inheritance as well. Tracy says you're a hateful cow, and Ken tells Cassie, well, look, you just need to answer for what you've done, and now you've said your piece, sling your hook, basically. I think one of the things about this story that's quite interesting is that it wasn't done in she wasn't doing it in a hateful way, but you can do hateful things with just because you're being selfish. And that is quite terrifying, isn't it? Because there are loads of people like Cassie who live, who would kill you because it suited them, or like hurt you very badly because they don't really think of you as that important, or like their consideration for you is nothing like what they care about themselves. Yeah. And it's like she is a terrible person, but she wasn't being hateful, and is that scarier? I don't know. Because there are loads of horrible stories like this about people that take in lodgers and kill them, or like people that are vulnerable, and it's terrible because at some point almost everyone's going to be vulnerable. And have to rely on people to look after them. And imagine if you had a bloody Cassie.
Yeah. One way that I don't want this story to go, if we're talking about sympathy and redemption arcs for Cassie, I don't need to see a scene where she happens to be in the right place at the right time to save Ken or save Amy, or just do some act of heroism that makes people say, oh, you know what? Thanks for that. Maybe I will give you a chance. I think she's going to need to really, really work for this, and I'm kind of quite interested to see how she does, because I don't think she's leaving the program, and I genuinely do not know whether she is or not. I really hope she's not, but I don't know how anybody can end up forgiving her for this. Even like Jenny, when she goes into the pub to get a glass of orange juice later, Jenny is like completely straight-faced and like, you can drink this and get out about it.
She didn't even finish it. Sad.
She didn't even get to finish her orange juice. Yeah, Peter Barlow is probably there feeling it and going, oh, wasted an orange juice. Oh, I could quite fancy one of them right now. But yeah, I loved how everybody is taken against
terrible.
him. Yeah.
And when she called it unforgivable, it is.
Yeah. But hope seems to be the one towards the end of the episode who is offering a lifeline to Cassie. She sees her at the bus stop when she's there trying to do a flip from Weatherfield, and she's like, "Look, I know you're not going to go. My dad and my mum will forgive you. It's going to be fine." And then she storms home and tells Fizz and Ty that they're out of order for kicking Cassie out. So,
well, it's fascinating, isn't it? Because she's also done terrible things. You know, she tried to kill Tyrone's baby.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. Is that why she's forgiving Cassie?
Yeah,
because she's also got no morals?
Well, I think she's being a bit naive in thinking that because I was forgiven by Tyrone and Fizz, then they'll forgive Cassie. Because it's one thing to forgive your daughter, who's a child.
A naive child.
And it's another thing to forgive a grown woman who, you know, has been doing this.
Yeah.
You'd never trust her again. You would never trust her again.
Every time
she did anything.
She made you a cup of tea.
Making food, is it? She's like Typhoid Mary of Coronation Street.
But, you know, I think that this clearly is a wake-up call for Cassie. I don't think that she would do it again. I think she's learned a mega lesson here.
I wouldn't trust, like, this, because she's a character I like. I'm going to make whatever excuses I need to make to keep her in the show. But in real life, this person is a shark. This person has no feelings. This person doesn't consider anybody except themselves, and that is terrifying.
Yeah.
There's like a black hole where their soul should be.
I think probably Ken will end up forgiving her because that's what he's like. I think he's going to realise maybe she's going to, you know... This sounds very much in keeping with Coronation Street at the moment. Maybe she's going to have some kind of breakdown or downward spiral or something because she thinks the world is against her, and Ken's going to take pity on the poor skank, and then he'll kind of say, "Well, I've forgiven her, so I think that you should give her a second chance too." Or does Steve?
Here's my prediction.
What?
The Doctor comes in and he's flipping a chart and he's looking confused, and he gets and a nurse comes in.
Ken's room.
Ken's room, and a nurse comes in and he's like, whisper. And she goes and she comes back. She goes, "It's been confirmed by the lab. The results are correct." And he goes, "I just can't believe this. This is astonishing. What did you say happened to you, Mr. Barlow?" And he'll say, "Cassie was giving me antihistamines in my tea." And he'll go, "Well, I just, I'll be blowed. It looks here as though you were dying of prostate cancer, but the combination of tea and antihistamines is actually an unprecedented cure for cancer. Bring me the woman who done this. She's cured cancer forever." And everyone goes, "Yay! Oh, that's really handy.
Could well
Julie's
happen.
going to be fine."
Yes, maybe.
Oh, great.
Maybe. If only.
I mean, that would be the way I might forgive her.
Yeah, it is going to happen, isn't it? But she's going to have to work for it. I don't know whether the story's going to... You know, the worst way it could happen, and not unlikely, is that the story just goes cold for months. And then
everybody just gets
come
over
Easter,
it.
everyone's like, "Oh, remember that time that Cassie tried to kill Cassie?
What would
We've forgotten
Jesus
about
do?
that now." Yeah, let's just let her get on with it. We'll forgive her. I still think that this... I'm glad that the story came to a head now. I'm quite surprised it's taken this long to get this far. Are you? Because it's been... Was it like the summer? Maybe this started? It felt like it should be a couple of months or tops.
No, I know, but you have... I often don't agree with what you say about how long a story should take. I just think that some stories need a lot more time.
I think that
But what did you want to happen?
Oh, I don't know. I think there's some weeks it felt like there was a bit of spinning of wheels.
I mean, it is, yeah, but some stories that make sense. You know, I'd much rather have a story like this that took an appropriate amount of time to get to the point than to have some boring romance where they snog each other and then they don't, and then they do, and then they don't, and then they do, and then they don't. This is much more interesting. Don't forget that without this story, Ken wouldn't have had anything to do. At least Ken had a story.
I think I will absolutely forgive it because I enjoyed it. I like the characters that are involved. I was intrigued about how it would come out, and I was always hoping that the grand reveal would be something quite epic, and it was. I was very, very pleased with it. So I'm going to say a big well done to Coronation
Wednesday's
Street
episode
for this.
Really good.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely.
I really am so conflicted about what I'm going to score this week because I really, really want. I really want Corey to know how much I enjoyed this story with Ken. Some great acting all around, making him the focus point of a story. It's kind of topical. It felt like how an issue story should be, right? Because I didn't come away from it going, "Oh yes, old people are vulnerable and should be protected, and we should be careful about who we let into our homes. But it kind of was a cautionary tale about just those very things, and it did kind of, and also Ken, worrying about am I losing it, or am I being poisoned? That it was all really, really interesting stuff, but it was done in a soapy way, wasn't it?
It was very soapy.
It didn't feel like anyone came out and went, this year 5,000 people will poison somebody with tea. Have you checked in your tea recently? Who's making your tea?
Yeah, no, it didn't feel like that. It was great.
This has been a sponsored message from
really
Tetley's.
Fun story. Really fun story. And yeah, hopefully there's still a little bit to go. And
I don't know how they're gonna get.
No,
around.
but I think they'll do. I think they'll do a fine
I do
job.
think Hope will wrap Fizz and Tyrone round her little finger, and there's no way they're not going to let Cassie move back in.
Let's move on to the Daisy story.
And this was another
one
soapy.
this was another one that I fairly enjoyed. That's why I tried to put the positive ones at the beginning.
Yeah.
I liked the drama with this, and it was a shame because the horrible Julie revelation on Monday kind of put a massive dampener on what was otherwise not actually too bad an episode, to be fair. And the big reveal of who the daddy was on this story
This
on
was
Monday
great.
It was fun stuff.
I enjoyed both these stories, and I thought that they were proper soapy nonsense, just what you want from a show like this. But then then we also had gangsters and prisons, and we also had cancer coming out of our ears, which we should get checked out. Right, so Daisy, on Monday, Daisy tells Jenny that Daniel's left her a message saying she wants to talk, and she's like, I've got no mood to talk to him. She's got no idea that Daniel has now been told by Jenny that it's his baby.
It's been heavily insinuated, hasn't it?
Well, no, she doesn't know.
No, I know. Jenny didn't outright tell Daniel,
well, she
you're the dad,
did.
but she was like...
She basically did. I don't... And Jenny's like very excited about the future, and she's trying to convince Daisy that Daniel worships the ground you walk on.
Well, yeah, Jenny, like me, sees the potential in Daniel and Daisy.
Well,
she's a bit of a Daniel and Daisy shipper.
There would be a good couple if it weren't for all the lies and
they really would be.
But Daisy has the most cockamamie plan of anyone. I said last week about how I thought that people have all these plans they're going to run away, but they never really flesh out what the hell they're going to do. Daisy's plan is she's going to be an au pair in Paris.
Of course.
Right, so imagine 4 months from now. Right, number one, she doesn't speak French. I'm sure she doesn't speak French. Number two, 4 months from now, excuse-moi, Daisy, cannot help but notice you are getting very fat. Yes, I'm pregnant. Oh dear, this is not going to work out. I don't think you can be pregnant and be my au pair.
I think we've learned that from Emily in Paris that if you're young, beautiful, and you know how to rock an Instagram account, and you can probably get by.
Got some good fashion.
Yeah, and they all speak English anyway, don't they?
Well, you cannot. I'm pretty sure that you can't be a pregnant au pair.
Yeah, no, maybe.
Not enormously pregnant.
Probably just make some of your job a bit more difficult.
Your baby might. Now think about this. Be very careful. Your baby might turn out to be French. Do you want that?
Oh, yeah.
Don't know.
Good point.
Don't know.
You're not really supposed to discriminate against people when you're hiring them according to
I think you can do what you want in
whether
Paris.
or not they're pregnant, but probably things are different in France, aren't they? What
yeah.
were you telling me the other day about DNA tests? You can't get them done in
I've said
France.
this before.
Have you said it on this?
Yes.
We'll say it
In
again,
France, you're only allowed to have a DNA test if it's been ordered by the court for your baby, because they consider it to be a threat to the integrity of the French culture.
Because everyone's always having it off with somebody else that's not their partner.
That's what they say.
Apparently.
C'est la vie. Anyway, I'm not here to judge the French. They can do what they like. But not with our Daisy, because she's staying. For 1 minute she's going, what a stupid idea. Genuinely. And also, she didn't say, I'm gonna go stay with my mum for a bit. I'm gonna go stay with my dad for a bit. Both of those things would have
go and
raised.
Stay with her mum.
Yeah, but it would raise less of an eyebrow than her
is.
going, I'm going to go to be an au pair in Paris. So you're going to get a job you've never done before in a country you've never lived before because you're pregnant.
she's kind of au paired for Daniel, isn't she?
Absolutely
Had a
bonkers.
great little month.
Jenny's like, no, don't. You're going to regret it. Don't throw everything away that you've got.
I did feel bad for Jenny. I've seen a fair bit of criticism of the writing of Jenny this week, and recently, and I do kind of agree that she's being used as a bit of a vehicle for relationship drama for Daisy, and she's doing things that maybe
I don't think it's necessarily always consistent with how she would be.
Little bit immoral. And yes, we did say, on the character profile that we did this week, that Jenny has, not always been whiter than white for sure, and that's fine, but she sometimes is making silly decisions.
She's being very selfish.
Yeah, and being very, very selfish.
But I do think that she genuinely thinks like this is going to be a win-win. I'm not doing anything wrong. Yes, it benefits me greatly, but it also is good for everybody. So this is what I'm going to...
Anyway, at this point, Jenny still thinks that Daniel is the dad, doesn't she?
Yeah, well, this is all perfect.
Even more a reason why, what on earth would you do going off to France? The dad's here, he loves you, you make a great couple. Also,
aren't you kind of like assuming quite a lot about the welfare state of France?
Why?
What are you going to... You can't just go to another country and have a baby there and expect them to look after you.
I don't know.
I mean, you can, apparently, but you shouldn't assume it.
Well, maybe she's heard that Eva's been getting on fine in France and she disappeared off.
Wouldn't you look into it a bit more than she seems to have, though?
She might have looked into it. It just didn't show it because it's not compelling drama.
Just a lot of her clicking about. Anyway, Daniel finds Adam and he's reading Ascend Trend, and it was absolutely hilarious because there was no way on this earth that it looked like the sort of magazine that Bethany was bigging it up to.
know.
And then he goes, this is quite good.
This is your curse of working in the publishing industry, isn't it?
Awful.
Whenever a high... what's it called?
You don't have to work in the publishing industry to look at it and go, that looks like absolutely...
It's supposed to be a proper, like, Vogue-ish... What would you call a magazine that's important and...
Well, it's like a glossy women's magazine.
Yeah, but high-end one. Yeah. And it I
mean, the glossy ones are... You might not think that they're all that
Bless
great.
Corrie's designers. I don't know whether this was Mike Gleason or someone else, but it didn't quite work for you.
It was all a load of like mid-tier crap as well. It's like relaxation techniques and how to diet.
Eating healthy is good for you. I don't remember. But
how to prevent cancer.
Yeah, maybe that's the key.
It's like, this is great actually. I'm going to borrow this if you don't mind. Well, he thinks it's great, and he's like, oh, Bethany's done an article about relationships. Hold the front page. Relationships, you say?
Yeah.
Wow. What's next?
Well, she's already done her air fryers one, hasn't she? And Ken could probably do a better one now that he's the proud owner of one.
2. Daniel's like, no, I'm not having anything more to do with Bethany because I love Daisy and she's having my baby. I'm so excited.
Poor Daniel.
He is really happy. He's just thrilled.
Yeah.
And I'm like...
He's a pompous ass, but I feel... in advance gutted for him, mega gutted when it's revealed that this baby isn't his, because it's clearly going to come out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. After a bit of thought.
I thought you meant it's going to come out and it's going to keep coming out and keep going out, and they're going to realise it's Kit's when it's
because
like
of how tall it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 6 foot long.
No, so yeah, poor Daniel.
Right, I don't feel sorry for him at all. I don't like him. So. Daniel turns up at the pub and Daisy's like, no, I don't want to talk to you, I want space. And he's like, no, I want to talk to you. So they go back to the back and he says, Jenny told me the baby's mine, and she has got nothing to say about this.
Yeah, she's somewhat blindsided by this revelation
I
from
love
Daniel.
you.
She didn't expect this to come.
I always loved you. Oh man, he's such a snake. He's such a snake, isn't he? Because he's saying the same thing to Bethany.
Like side of the bed is barely cold.
I know. He's like, oh, it's really. Oh, I love you, Daisy. Can you come and feed Bertie breakfast, please? Because Bethany's not here anymore.
I can't be too mad at him because, as we know, that I am also on team Daniel Daisy.
Whatever. I mean, I would be, but Daniel's such an arse.
He's a fun arse.
He's such an arse.
It's great. It's so in character for him.
I've always loved you. I've never stopped loving you. The whole time I was with Bethany, I was only thinking of you. And she's like, I love you too. And he's like, oh, we're going to have a baby. We're going to have a happy family. I can't wait. It's so brilliant. And you just know
that when Lucy Fallon's back off on maternity and Bethany Rock's back up in Weatherfield after Ascend Trend closes, he's going to be right back to her again.
I love you, Bethany. I've always loved you. I never liked Daisy. She's a cow.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I think hopefully by that point, Jenny can tell Bethany, you should hear the sort of stuff that he was saying
He's just
to Daisy
blabbing all the
when you've
time.
barely
He's-
been gone 5 minutes.
don't trust a man who likes poetry. They're all full of crap. So she says, I was thinking of leaving. And he's like, don't go, we'll stay together. And he manages to sweet talk her into sort of getting back together.
Yeah, they're
with
snogging
him.
their faces off by the end of the scene.
So he leaves, and then Jenny comes back, and Daisy is absolutely livid, and she's like, I cannot believe you've done this. Yes, we did get back together, but there's a big problem here. The problem is that the father of the baby is not Daniel, it is Kit.
Oh, gutted for Daniel. Mega gutted for him.
As soon as Jenny told Daniel he was the father last week, it's like, well, he's obviously not now, is he?
Although, a little bit excited for Bernie that she could be a grandparent soon. Oh, I suppose she already is one many times over. But
Yeah, it's old
a
news.
grandparent again. A
It's old
grandparent
news for
again.
Well,
Yeah. Not as fun a way for the revelation to come out as the whole quiz question in the Rovers. Who's the daddy revelation?
It's still fun.
But,
It was still very dramatic, wasn't it? I loved
it was dramatic. I don't think I was expecting it to come out when it did.
I know this is all silly and like soapy, but this is what I want from a soap. I
much
don't
more
want
fun than
anything
people
else.
sitting around miserable.
Sitting in waiting rooms waiting to find out if they're going to die or not.
Yeah.
So Stanley goes back to the flat and he's like, yes, I've got the champagne. Adam, we're back together. I'm the daddy. It's fantastic. And so Jenny's now like, it's your fault. You made me think that Daniel was the dad. And Daisy's like, no, you jumped to conclusions. What am I going to do? This is a mess. And Jenny says, you need to tell him the truth.
About some things, by the end of the week, she's
Like,
certainly
no, don't
on the
tell
side
anybody
of
anything.
Team Lies.
Never speak again. Daniel goes to the pub and Daisy's out there, but he gets chatting to Jenny. He's like, yes, it's amazing. The only thing that Daisy was saying that she wants to leave because of Carla and all the money. I'm gonna pay to get Carla off her back because I'm loaded. I'm rich from the house. And Jenny's like, oh.
Yeah, and at this point, the pound signs ring in Jenny's eyes, and she realises that she has got to keep these two together, come high or high water, because this is her escape from the very weird mess that she's got herself in 12 months ago.
So stupid. I mean, I can't forgive how this story has gone because it's just been an absolute mess. But this scenario they've set up here is actually quite fascinating, isn't it? And I don't believe for 1 minute it was leading here the whole time. But now we're at this stop, we might as well enjoy ourselves, get out and stretch our legs a bit.
That house of Denise's has been
oh my god,
there
it's
as
a
a
million
possible
things.
gold mine for the past few years by this point. But
Yes. So Adam comes into the pub.
Isn't it also? It's also a bit of Bertie's trust fund, isn't it? A little bit from Sinead.
The whole thing is supposed to be for Bertie.
Yeah.
And so Daniel's like just blasé taking it. But again, all these children on Coronation Street seem to have vast fortunes put into trust funds they're not allowed to have.
Just about the average life of working class folk.
Yeah, just about 150 grand in your account for when you go to university. How much do you say it cost again?
They've only got a couple of grand to rub together.
Well, I mean, Betsy just managed to spirit 50 grand out of nowhere. Amy's got 40 grand to invest in a cult. Bertie's like, 3 years old and he's got 250 grand knocking about.
Yeah.
This is not normal. This is
I
not
suppose
normal.
in the land of soap where everybody dies before their time in dramatic ways, then they're going to be leaving fortunes to people.
Tell that to Max.
Yeah.
Right, so
Okay.
Adam comes in the pub. Congratulations. Amy and Fizz hear this, and it's all coming out. And Daisy's like, didn't want this to all. This is not supposed to be public knowledge. But everyone's like, hooray, congratulations! And then
to Daniel.
Yeah, awkwardly, Kit comes in, and Daniel's like, guess what? I'm the daddy, not you.
I love how Kit said, "Oh, so I guess I'm the runner-up then."
Quite literally, I suppose. He can't. Kit cannot stand this.
Daniel's being. He's a kind of like a bad luck old chap, but I've got the girl now. He got his arm around Daisy.
Also kind of like you can't
Good
help
try.
but think that Daniel's like, My sperm's better than yours.
Yeah.
My lot are faster.
I've got Oxford grade sperm down here.
They're like
what have you got?
the row
Kit?
team going, yeah, go on, pull.
Yeah, aren't they? They're the Oxford rowers. Yeah.
And Kit's like, whatever, man. I don't even care anyway. He wants a baby, not me. Right, so they're all happy, and Kit's incredibly bitter because he just begun to kind of come to terms with the possibility, and now it's been thrown in his face, not only by Daisy, but also Daniel's being an arse about it.
Yeah.
So he's like, I've dodged a bullet, and he leaves. Imagine how awful it would be to find out you're not the dad by walking in on everybody drinking champagne, like they're going, oh, good, it wasn't you.
Yeah. Daniel, he says the words, but he really doesn't care at all that
No, he doesn't give a
world has
two
just
hoots.
crashed in front of him.
Well, it's not like this is the worst news Kit's ever had, is it?
No.
It just would have been nice, like. It's not like he wanted a baby.
Well, he was coming round to the idea.
He was coming round to it, but it's not like it's not handy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's very cutthroat, but I think that's what Kit is, quite cutthroat. So in the back later, Jenny's like, Daisy, everything's changed. This might be for the best, actually. And Daisy says, no, I need to tell Daniel the truth. And Jenny's like, well, before you do, maybe Daniel's just saved our bacon because he's going to pay Carla off for us. We're saved! And Daisy, immediately, very worthy of her, is like, no, it's Bertie's money, it's Bertie's money. I think she's been far too holy here, don't you? This is not the Daisy I know.
No, but it is because she really loves Bertie.
I think she loves herself.
I think Bertie's the number two person in her life after
I don't
Daniel,
know.
herself. I don't know. I think she realises it's morally wrong, but that's what doesn't necessarily fly for me, because Daisy was the one who was pushing for them to take Stephen's money.
Yes.
Jenny said, no, we shouldn't be doing this, there's got to be another way, and Daisy said, no, we've got to do it. And now they've kind of reversed the roles, haven't they, which is why it doesn't quite
she's
work
just
for
being
me.
she's never been do the right thing kind of a girl. I get what you're saying, it's for Bertie. It just feels very convenient.
I think that she has shown morals in the past.
No, what? When she was trying to make Ryan think she date raped him.
Oh yeah, I guess that's.
She's been awful. She's done some really terrible things, and now she's like, but think of the children. Because the thing about it is, it's not as though the money's being stolen, like she did to Stephen and Carla. It's being invested. So she needs to, like. I know that she works it out so that Jenny doesn't end up on the deeds and everything, but you would think that would be part of the plan anyway, and you would also hope that Daniel wouldn't be such a dumb idiot that he's not going to go into it going, well, I expect a certain amount of return on the investment every year. How much, let's look at the books, how much you make, how much can Bertie get, how are we going to invest it, how does it compare? If I look at my, what am I getting for it now? You'd hope he would think a bit more about it than just go, oh, well, I don't know, she's sexy. Yeah. She can have the money.
This will prove to her that I really love her, and I always have.
Stupid idiot.
I want to see Bertie's name over the door with her over.
Yeah.
I tell you. That'd be good.
Right, so it's supposed to be for Bertie. I can't deceive Daniel so we can bail ourselves out. And Jenny's like, no, please, look, it's everything you ever wanted. Can't we just keep it all up? We get to keep the pub. You get to be with Daniel. Daniel gets a baby. So what if it's not his? Loads of men have had babies that are not theirs.
As soap viewers, we're saying, well, obviously it's all going to come out sometime.
Yeah, but if you were her, you'd be like, But the thing is, no, I was saying to you, and I think the days are long gone that this is a possibility to keep this a secret.
Yeah, you couldn't keep it a secret.
No. I mean, biologically speaking, the days are long gone that your DNA is just like a funny, random thing that might get you caught for murder or something. Your DNA, in the future is going to be increasingly more an important part of your healthcare plan.
Yeah.
You're going to have your DNA taken by your healthcare provider to find out what kind of diseases you're more susceptible to. And
Cancer if you live in Coronation
and that's
Street.
even before you take into account the possibility of this little kid, boy or girl,
Jenny,
one day doing a 23andMe just for fun and finding out.
Yeah, Jenny is also condemning Daisy here to a lifetime of deception.
Plenty of women have done it.
I know. But could you ever forget it? Would it ever
No,
leave
it would
your
be
mind?
sick. Make you sick
You'd
forever.
be constantly worrying, what if? So and
No,
whereas,
it wouldn't even be that. It'd just be like, I'm lying to everybody.
Yeah.
And also,
whereas Jenny's sitting pretty in her
just
band,
benefits
thinking, well,
Jenny
it's fine
very
for
much.
me. I've got the pub. I've got everything that I wanted.
you're not
Thanks
just-
for taking the burden from me, Days.
you're not just lying to your husband or whatever, but you're lying to your child.
Yeah. And literally everybody. And expecting Daisy to do this just to save your own bacon, when at the end of the day, although it was Daisy who was the one who started the ball rolling with Stephen's money, I would say that Jenny, as her mum, as the older, wiser person, should have really still said, no, I'm putting my foot down on this, we can't do this. So
It's
yeah,
free money.
she's being incredibly selfish here at the moment, and I kind of interested to see how this does backfire on Jenny if and when it ever comes out.
Well,
Because I think that Daisy can't go through with this, and I want to
Daisy
know what
won't, no.
Rita's going to say as
Oh,
well.
God.
Rita's going to be mega disappointed in her. Is Jenny going to become? I mean, I know it's no Cassie. I think maybe Jenny's lucky that everybody is hating Cassie at the moment, so that they can't look down their noses at Jenny when it comes out. But yeah, it's a really, really bad move for Jenny, and I kind of wish they hadn't made her do it.
Well,
But they did.
well.
What's-
Steve has a go at who's Mick? Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
sorry.
Maudsley Street Mick.
So yeah, Mick's in it.
Very
Forgot he was in
briefly.
it.
Very briefly.
He's
I've forgotten it.
Littering
well.
in the
in the ginnel there. He's
in the
throwing his
ginnel.
boxes out.
And Steve's like, "What are you doing?" He tries to get Kit involved, but Kit's like still annoyed that he's not the daddy.
Yeah, this was basically just a scene to show that Kit is not taking the news very well, that he's apparently not the daddy.
I thought this was hilarious and brilliant because Steve's like, "I'm telling the police. Oh, here's one," and Kit's like, "I didn't give a sod about this. Sort it out yourself."
Yeah, but that is very Coronation Street, modern Coronation Street, isn't it? Like, I need a police officer. Oh, one of our neighbours is. And there's another one that just lives nearby as well. Oh, and here's a third one.
But none of them care about crime.
No.
Gemma takes Kit into number 5 and he's opening up about how upset he is. And Gemma's being sympathetic and saying, "Look, one day you will make a great dad." Little does he know.
Does he know? There's one just a few doors down.
Daisy is with Daniel in the flat later and he's like putting his hands on her stomach and going, "Oh, I can't believe it. Oh, hello, Bump, I'm your dad." And she tries to tell him the truth, but he says, "Oh, I can see what you're going to say about the money. Don't worry, it's fine. I don't mind. We don't want a load of debts over us when we start our new life with our baby. Take the money, please. We're a family."
This is great.
Oh, I can't say no
Really
now,
great.
can I? On Wednesday, Daniel brings Bertie round to Ken's before school and he's like, "Oh, I want to tell Bertie he's got a new baby brother or sister. I can't wait." And Jenny's like telling Daisy, "You got to keep this up. You got to keep telling him it's his." The Rovers is also, think about how great it's going to be for Bertie. He's going to be invested in like the world's most famous pub. And I know that we nearly lost it millions of times and it's still not really making that much money, but investment, it's the future. Alcohol.
A bit of a gamble, isn't it? Considering how badly the pub was doing last year, this could totally. I think this is what partly what makes Daisy think, well, we need to have some guarantees here that Bertie's money is completely safe.
Well, he's like, she says, "Look, Daniel's always wanted this. He wants a family with you. Kit's. It's not like Kit's going to be a better dad than him. So forget about it. This is great. This is everything we want." So Daniel and Daisy go to get the scan. In the baby scan.
Oh yes, the baby scan.
And Daniel's saying, "Oh, the money's ready. Everyone's fine with it." The bank manager's like, "Yes, pubs, brilliant news, more pubs."
Poor old Daniel.
It's an emerging business.
Yeah, Daniel's looking at the little splat on the screen, very excited.
Well, hang on. Before that happens, Daisy tells him, "We've got to do this properly, though.
Oh, yeah,
all
yeah,
legal and stuff, up above board with the pub. Take Jenny off the deeds, so you have got your guarantees and put yourself on there." So then we have the scan, and it gets too much for Daisy, because Daniel's just like, "Wow, look at that," and so she leaves, and he finds her outside, and she's like, "Oh, it's just the scan is very overwhelming," and he's like, "Oh, I love you and the baby."
Just felt a huge, overwhelming rush of love.
Oh man,
Yeah.
he's just laying it on so thick, isn't he?
Yeah, unknowingly. Yeah.
It would be lovely if it was really his
It
child.
would be very, very lovely, but Soap gods have decreed no.
No, and if it was actually his kid, he'd probably be like, oh God, another mouth to feed. I can't afford Yakult anymore. Anyway, back at the pub, Jenny is thrilled to hear that Daisy's decided against telling Daniel the truth, but she's not so happy to hear that he is going to go on the deeds and she's coming off.
This is, again, such a bad look for Jenny, wasn't it?
Why does she have to come off?
She wants to be completely scot-free and have no consequences for herself about this, when Daniel in this plan is going to be lied to. Daisy is living the life of deception.
And Bertie's paying for it.
Yeah, Kit's being denied a chance to know his own son.
Yep.
And Jenny's just like, as long as everything stays exactly the same for me,
and I'd have to give Carla £90 a week.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if I was Jenny, I'd be like, Jen, how about I give the money to you that I was going to give to Carla and you keep me on the deeds? Like, there's never any negotiation in the show. It's always like one extreme to another and everyone's crying and moaning about it. She's like, no, hang on. I'll go from landlady to barmaid. No, this has been my dream my whole life. I've always wanted to be the landlady of the Rovers. You know what this place means to me. And she says, you're not living on this planet if you think you can be the landlady after we're bailing you out. This is Bertie's money. And Jenny's like, no way. And she goes off.
Oh, yeah, that was a fun scene at the end.
She goes off and she's cleaning the pumps with this real sulky, mardy look on her face. And Daisy's like, this is the only way.
That was fun. That was real fun. I'm really kind of a bit upset and nervous about the prospect of Jenny quite possibly and probably not being the landlady of the Rovers for
I
much
don't like
longer.
that idea.
I don't like the idea at all. Again, it was only been days since we recorded that profile of her and we were like, oh, I hope she stays as the landlady forever.
No, we're full of prophetic statements, aren't we?
Yeah, we made this happen.
If I was Jenny, I would be finding ways to keep my landladyship.
Oh yeah, totally.
You know, number one, I'll pay the money back that I owed to Carla and I'll be a joint investee. Number two, I'll tell Daniel it's not his baby, and then I'll be back where I started.
It's hard.
Think about it from her perspective.
Got to this point.
Think about it from her perspective. She's got the possibility of it, of the unknown, which is going back to how it was when Carla still wanted the cash and she was trying to pay her off, or you've got the certainty of being kicked off of the deeds and also living in peril, because as soon as Daniel finds out that it's not his baby, he could kick Jenny out.
100%.
Because Jenny knew. Daisy wouldn't hide the fact that she knew.
Yeah.
So she's really
right.
in a very much more precarious position than she wants to be. And I don't think Daisy's really thought through how dangerous Jenny could be to her if she thinks she's got nothing to lose. Because having a job in a pub, you can have a job in any pub. Being the landlady of the Rovers is what she wants to be.
Yeah.
So anyway, she's still miffed about it. On Thursday, she's like, oh, after everything I've done, after COVID, I kept this place going.
Got the one-way system,
take away hot pots.
Yeah.
And Daisy's like, quit your moaning, this is how it's going to be. So then Daisy goes to visit Carla, who is cleaning out her cupboards, and tells her the cash is on the way. And Carla's like, I don't want to know. I'm not interested. Where it comes from.
Carla is in no mood to talk about this. She's just like, I need my cash. You stole from me. I'm not going to exchange pleasantries from my robbers.
I'm not going to say thank you.
No.
And
but she wants to know whether Jenny's on board, doesn't she?
And Daisy's like, well, she will be. Danger alert. Back at home, Daniel tells Daisy that they're going to tell Bertie about the baby. Oh my God. And Bertie had the same reaction that I would have. Bertie, we're having a baby. And Bertie goes, yay.
I know. Bless him. It wasn't the most brilliantly acted line, but he is only 5, 6.
Why are you telling me I don't care?
I just wonder, like, when you're on set and you've got one of these little child actors who's obviously got no reason to do it right, if they just don't act, it's like, how much can you push them and say, just give it again, try it again, try and be really excited about it.
I genuinely do not know how difficult it would be here.
Yeah.
Like, the thing is about a kid is that if they don't want to do it, they're not going to do it, are they?
They should have just said, come on, kid, I'll give you a big bowl of ice cream.
How many times can you bribe a child with ice cream every time they're acting?
If it works, it works.
So it's all a bit much for Daisy, and she feels guilty again. She goes off to see Jenny, And Carla comes into the pub and she's like, well, I want my money, please.
Yes. So not looking so good, is it here? So that I think that was everything with that. What? If you were in Jenny's position, what would you do?
It's difficult.
That's the hard part.
In real life, or like as a naughty soap character.
Well, maybe in real, it's hard because how many people in real life would be in this position? So maybe we do just have to see it as a soap character. Like you've got a way out here, so you think. I think it might be just advisable for her to.
I'll tell you what. I wish they'd done a bit more.
I just don't know.
I wish they'd had a bit more of Jenny fretting and being up at night and worried about the pub, and like thinking about Carla and like, God, you know, she's in a dire strait. She doesn't need this as well, you know, with the kidney and like us owing her money, and she's all the interest, and I don't know what to do, and I'm trying my best, and you know, like working really hard, and like she, you know, one day Daisy gets up and Jenny's there, and she's like, oh yeah, I've had to get rid of our cleaner because so I'm doing it all myself because I'm trying to save money. Literally all we had was Jenny like being very blasé about it, going, oh, I gave her 90 quid the other day, what's she moaning about, we'll pay her back when we pay her back. Because Jenny wasn't actually worried, it feels like, as what we have seen of her about the Rovers. It feels like a much more vindictive choice for her to use this money for herself. Yeah, she doesn't
feel as desperate as maybe she should.
She should really have been like properly upset, and this was like the answer to her prayers. It doesn't feel like she's worried at all about anything. And I don't think that's true to her character either.
Because the story just dropped off the map, didn't it?
But you see what I mean? Like, do you remember that scene where she was like, they were at the bar and Daisy was like going, oh, what are we going to do? And Jenny's like, I gave her 90 quid. What else does she want? Yeah. You can't get blood out of a stone. Like, she was literally like, whatever happens, I don't care.
She's been just a bit too laid back with it. And also maybe to have her maybe wondering and worrying about should we take it rather than just immediately snapping Daniel's hand off about it. Like if we'd seen her thinking I'm in a real moral quandary here, and then maybe asking advice or something before making the decision, look Daisy, I think that we should do this, because you're right, it just come across as being very cutthroat.
Yeah, if there had been one of these stupid scenes where like, well, I'm a stupid scene, I'm just about to suggest it, but the sort of scene where she goes to see like Rita or something, she's like, oh Rita, if there was something a lie that you could tell that would save your life, would you do it? Or, you know, some kind of like where you pose a kind of similar dilemma to somebody, and they're like, oh, of course you would do it. Of course you would lie to save someone's feelings. And then she's like, yeah, maybe I will.
If only she had gone to see Rita, who still hasn't appeared on the show this year, so it might be quite nice. Rita might have said, no, let me just give you the money.
Rita's like, what do you mean you owe Carla Connor £250,000? I got that.
I suppose Jenny probably knows that she can't go and ask Rita because the last time she asked her for quite a large amount of cash,
that
it didn't go so well for her.
Not good enough for you.
Yeah.
Well, I do think the viewers are a bit better than, you know, oh, we must have black and white in every, you know. It feels as though Jenny's 100%, you know, for something and Daisy's not, you know. We could have a bit more of a nuanced take on it and it would still have worked. Yeah. And both the actresses can do it, the writers can do it. We know they can all do a bit more muddying the water.
Yeah.
It does feel a bit like Jenny has been a bit simplified.
Yeah, it does. But I'm not.
I'm still really enjoying it.
I'm not enjoying it. I like the characters that are involved. I like that it's soapy. I like that it's fairly, you know, nobody's dying in it.
I like I like conflict, and I like it when, you know, I like it when it sparks a discussion of what would you do, or, you know, how would you cope in this situation and stuff. And it's not,
I don't think that I could keep it from Daniel.
No, it would be.
I couldn't have it eating at me or my daughter. Yeah. I just couldn't.
Come here. You don't have to listen to him because he's not your real dad.
I would maybe she should just need to tell Craig and say, don't tell anyone. I've got to tell somebody, but secretly knowing that he's going to blab it out. And you can say, I told him not to tell.
The thing is about Daniel is that I do think that if she had not lied and she told him it was Kit's baby, but told him that she wanted him to raise the baby, I think that with enough persuasion he would have gone for it. But he will take great delight in like being, oh, I can't believe you're lying.
He is going to be utterly
oh,
insufferable when this comes out.
Which of course you would be, but it's just, Daniel,
yeah,
man.
to come from Daniel, it just ups it even more, doesn't it?
Like,
he is going to be
there's a poem about this, I'm going to read it to you.
Okay, so the time has come at last to get to the Carpe dying storyline. It's really tough because I think I enjoyed every scene in this story this week, apart from that one thing that completely and utterly ruined my Monday evening. Because Katie Kavanagh, was such a delight to watch. Every single scene that she was in, every moment she was on screen, she lit it up. I loved the interactions with her and Todd, with her and Eileen. But now I can't watch it, and I think maybe on Wednesday, I almost kind of did forget about it on Wednesday just because I enjoyed it so much. So,
no, you didn't know that this was what Julie's secret was, did you?
No, I don't think anybody knew.
No, well, I did know because on Monday I saw somebody posting.
Oh, you saw a spoiler of somebody who'd watched it early, yeah.
I knew that this... So I think maybe we're coming at it from a different perspective because I was not blindsided by this at all and you were. So maybe that...
What was your reaction when you saw the tweets then?
Well, I looked at the tweet and I went blind because my eyes rolled back in my head so far I couldn't see anymore. And I just went, oh, of course.
Yeah, because when we started watching it on Monday, you said, I've seen a spoiler about what Julie's secret is. And I was like, don't tell me. And I was even saying, I think last week, oh, she's got a dark secret. Oh, everyone's always got a dark secret. Oh, what's it going to be? I never in a million years would I have imagined that this is what it was.
No, I think we tried to guess last week.
Yeah, we thought it was something with money or...
Yeah, or baby or something.
Yeah, exactly. Never would have thought, because it's such a ridiculous thing to do. Well, I don't know who on earth could have signed off on this idea and thought, yeah, that'll make really good TV, won't it? Let's give Kevin cancer and we'll have Julie get it while we're at it. Having this character who is just so beloved, and you're right, people have said, I've seen people saying, and I totally get this, she's not a Corrie icon, is she? She's not, it's not like they're killing off... She's not.
I know.
It's not like they're killing off Gail with cancer. And it's like, it's not.
Well,
but Julie represents something that
really
is
nice.
Really nice and pure and lovely.
Yeah,
and fun.
She's like a little spring lamb.
She is. And
I suppose we eat them, though, don't we? So what are we complaining about?
Something that's missing, sorely missing from the misery police hospital gangster fest that is Coronation Street at the moment. She's just a fun, sparky, lovely, lively, wonderful, some might say Debbie Webster-esque kind of character. And to have this surprise, this horrible diagnosis given to a character like that, it's like, nobody can be happy. Literally nobody can be happy
with this story.
And I was hoping that Julie's return would be a beacon amongst all the dark fog that is every other bloody storyline on Coronation Street at the moment.
Nobody wants this. Nobody likes this. Nobody asked for this. They can't think that people want this. Surely not. I mean, why don't they give Harvey cancer?
I have seen a few unkind comments about other characters saying, why is everybody else getting cancer and insert name here still hasn't got it?
Oh, God.
But I really do not get the thinking behind this.
It doesn't feel... I mean, they do double up all the time. But this seems like something beyond... And we're going to talk about Kevin's storyline in a bit, and I thought, because... they had this bombshell on Monday about Julie having terminal. It's terminal as well. It's not like she's got cancer and it's touch and go. It's like
she says, I'll be lucky to make it to the summer. And
I thought because of that, then Kevin would be fine. But no, Kevin's also got it spread. So what are we doing here? And I've seen people. We had a discussion too, didn't we? And we were saying, well, what if she's mistaken? And she's just being dramatic, and she doesn't actually... It's not really as terminal.
What if she is trying to scam Eileen?
There's a chance that she could still survive. at this point I don't care, because you've now made me think that she's going to die, and I think that it would be cruel. It's cruel to do it in the first place for no reason, and secondly, it's cruel to people who have her cancer who are going to die. You know, you're playing with real... This is the thing about it. You're playing with real people's lives here. Nobody's watching Corrie going, I can't believe they're making a mockery of the fact that my baby's not actually the guy who said he was my baby's daddy, and he's given me £250,000 for a pub because I stole money off a dead man. This is exactly what's happening to me now. Like, yeah. This is happening to people who are watching the show, and they're not going to see the end of summer. Number one, do you want to watch it on the screen? I don't think so.
No.
And you know, we've just also, I mean, we're talking about cancer here, and we're talking about dying of cancer, but we had Paul die of MND. This is the second. We're comparing it to other cancer stories, but this is also a terminal diagnosis story, and we already had that. And I think they did it really well. They did it so well with Paul. What are we doing with this?
It feels like maybe they're going to try and make it an uplifting thing, but like, as in the same way that they did Paul, it was still tragic, but Paul was trying to put a brave face and show positivity, what have you, all the way through it. And Julie seems to be the sort of person that maybe would, but it doesn't mean I want to see it. I think one of the other things that I'm really mad at about it is that when Kavanagh's return was announced a month or two ago, however long it was very much like, look everybody, Julie's back, and like lovely pictures of her smiley, kookily dressed, going, hey, Julie's back to offer a ray of sunshine. She
looks the same as ever.
Yeah, and then
her beautiful smile.
So it feels like we've been hoodwinked by the publicity, saying, hey, everybody, remember this? Yeah, this character who's going to inject some fun back into Coronation Street. Not really.
Chemo is the only thing she's getting injected with. Oh,
yeah, it just feels like poorly judged. Like, I wonder if her return had been announced, and coupled with it the news of what the story would it be better then if we had been prepared? If we'd been like, if they'd said, yeah, Julie's coming back, she will be having a terminal diagnosis, and Eileen and Todd and co are going to have to be navigating through this, would that have been better? Maybe. It would have been a horrible shock at the time, but at least I wouldn't have been completely taken by surprise on Monday night and just left fuming for the rest of the evening.
Well, you know, you've said before about you want to be surprised by things, because we had this whole we had the whole thing about Aidan as well, didn't we? We had Aidan's suicide, and they warned us in advance, because they were going to make it a big, like, a big shock, and they didn't do that, because they got advised that it's actually bad for people's mental health, and it could do absolutely the opposite of what they wanted to achieve with it. Yeah. So they came out and they told everybody this is going to happen, and you refused to. I tried very hard to avoid
any publicity with that. Yeah.
But what do you think about? Are you now arguing the opposite here? Because you are, aren't you? You're saying, I want to be told.
Yeah.
If there's going to be a cancer story, I want to know in advance. And I don't like spoilers, but there is something to be said about, like, and this is going to sound really, really kind of a bit over the top, but there's a bit of informed consent going on here. I didn't consent to watch a show where everyone's dying of cancer.
Well, Gemma, they did warn you that there'd be upsetting scenes when we press that watch now button on ITVX, so really it's our own fault.
It's our own fault. But I'm prepared for certain things to happen, but not other things. And I think that I never signed up to watch a show about cancer. I've seen other people also say, it's I don't know why everyone's moaning about there being two cancer storylines going at the same time, because that happens in real life. People get cancer at the same time as other people, and also you can compare and the contrast the two. How do they cope? Does one do one thing and another one do a different thing? Is it whatever? I'm not watching a show about I'm not here watching Casualty or what's the guy, Dr. House or whatever. I'm not watching that, because and when I do watch it, I'm in a different mental state. I'm not watching Corrie for shocks about death.
Yeah, this is not the surprise twist that we wanted.
It does feel a bit like a surprise twist. It shouldn't be you got cancer.
Even surprise twists can be sometimes on Coronation Street characters died. You didn't expect that to happen, but in a dramatic stunt or something, and that's different. Like, you know, Johnny dies down a sinkhole. That was that was sad. It wasn't revealed in advance that was going to happen, but I don't feel badly about it. Even, you know, and
I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's very personal to both of us, and so I'm never gonna want a cancer story. But I think that 3 in 7 months,
really, really bad.
And
really bad look.
I really genuinely don't care about anyone trying to justify it to me by saying 1 in 2 people get cancer in their lifetime, so it's important to raise awareness. I genuinely do not think you need to raise awareness of cancer.
I think people know.
I think, and what have we learned about what it is that Julie's got? Do people know what a sarcoma is? No,
yeah, no,
they're not making any effort.
I know, but come on, to be fair, there's only 2 episodes into.
I'm not going to be fair about it because it's personal to me, and I feel as though I'm fair about a lot of things, and I think everybody knows I've really put my stall out, and I've said I'm not impartial here. I can't be unbiased about this. I'm not going to detach myself and pretend that I'm not deeply emotionally affected by this. It affects your mental health when it's something that you're worried about anyway, and then you watch it on the screen, and it affects so many people. 1 in 2, yeah. So why are we dragging people through a dark period in their lives on screen
when literally anything else could have happened?
I'm not going to say any more now.
No, there is more. There's also obviously.
I didn't want to moan too much about this.
No,
it's kind of
we had to moan a little bit, but I think we maybe need to nip it in the bud a little bit. There's more that could be said with other spoilers that we know about things that are happening in the future for Coronation Street, which we can't talk about. But I think the time with that will come when it does. But literally, I
can't see where this is going.
They could have chosen anything else.
I mean, we know what this story is for.
I'm baffled about why they've done this. Look, that's enough of that.
We know what the story is for, and it feels as though, it feels as though you've gone into a sweet shop and you've gone licorice. Licorice is what I want. I know it's horrible, but I don't want to be happy.
Yeah, or aniseed balls.
Oh, I like aniseed balls.
What, you like aniseed balls, you monster?
I said this the other day.
You're going to tell me you like green fruit pastels next.
Well, look, you know what? The green fruit pastels make you grateful for the red and purples.
Right, so that's what happened in the story, really, isn't it? So we were wondering what was going to happen with Julie, who was getting her taxi early on Monday morning when she told Todd and co that she was going to go and see Eileen. And she sits down with Todd in the lobby of the hotel. He's clearly had an amazing night with man 1, or was it man 2? I don't know. We never get to see him again. But Julie's taxi arrives. She gets a text to say, and then she says, give love to Eileen for me. Give love to your mum. And he says, well, you're going to go and see her yourself later, aren't you? Oh, yeah, of course, she says. So he's left a little confused when she leaves, but then he notices that she has left her bag in the lobby, her lovely pink bag. I don't know, that bag did have all her medicines in, didn't it? And so I think you'd probably be guarding it with your life. I don't know. Women like their bags anyway, don't they?
Well,
but I did quite like her bag, and I like when Todd's there with Billy and JC. Whose bag is this? Is it our Lord and Saviour Jesus Christ? I thought it was quite a funny little line there. But anyway, so he's taken the bag in the hope that he can present it to Julie when she comes to see Eileen later, and he's going to leave it as a big surprise for some reason. Oh no, he wants to surprise still his mum that her sister is about, doesn't he?
And totally fine.
Yeah. So
and really healthy.
Later on, Julie is sneaking in the side of the cabin, watching George and Eileen leave for the pub. So we are left in no doubt, as if we needed any more confirmation, that she is trying to avoid Eileen like the plague at this moment. So she goes round the back of the house, having found a key under a mat or a plant pot or wherever it was, I don't remember. But what do you know? She bumps into Todd there in the lounge, and she's like, I just need to get away. I no offence to your mum, but I've got a lot on. I don't need to speak to her, sorry. And Todd's like, no, you need to stay. And he tries to use this bag as a bit of a bargaining chip to get her to stay by keeping hold of it. So basically it ends in a bit of a tug of war, and out pops this little purse of tablets and whatever else is in there. And yep, it's cancer medicine. This is when the big reveal happened.
Is George there at this point, or is it just
no?
Todd?
I think it's just
Todd. Like,
maybe George is there as well. I can't.
Picks
Yeah,
up
no,
the
George is
leaflet,
there. Yeah,
and it says how to reveal in a scene that you've got terminal cancer. What,
Or-
Julie? Is this you?
all the way through that little tug of war, it's like, oh, what could it
Oh,
be?
no,
Oh,
oh,
what's
no.
going to happen? What's going to
poor
spill out?
Michael.
Is she going to have a bag of cash, or is it going to be a little? I was like, oh. And then it's like, like just the
Like your hopes and dreams were crushed.
It really was. It was like the whole
It was
deflation.
cruel. It's actually really cruel.
It felt like a really cruel move to the viewers, and it has gone down like a lead balloon online, hasn't it? And I will say rightly so.
I mean, it's hard. I like to be contrary, as everybody knows, and I try to also see why, if I don't agree with something, I always try to work out, how can I, even if I don't agree with the decision, I'm like, look, they've done it for a good reason, okay? And I don't know where this is going. I don't know where this is going with Julie. I don't know if she's going to be a lie. I don't know if she's going to be fine. I don't know.
Would it be better if it is a? Do I want it to be a lie?
But what I'm saying is, at this point, I have no choice but to believe that what they're saying is true, or what Julie's saying is true. And so given all of that, and not knowing if there is going to be a twist that makes everything okay, like the cancer fairy comes or whatever. But like,
is she best friends with a testicle
sorry,
fairy?
I've come to the wrong house. I just can't see how this is. What's the justification?
If Coronation Street turns around in a month and says, aha, it's a trick, she actually doesn't have cancer, we got you, I'd be like, you bastards, why did you make us
It's not something to
this?
joke. I mean, it's not a joke. And I guess, we just, there's a documentary now on Netflix about that woman in Australia, Belle Gibson,
something like that, yeah.
Gibson, who
yeah.
pretended to have cancer to get sympathy.
A bit like Bethany
But we already had,
in the group the other week.
But we already had, people have done this on Corrie before. Stella did it. It wasn't offensive to me then because she's supposed to be a odious character.
No, Scylla did have cancer, but yeah, you're right. She got better and then she milked it, didn't she? So she got off to the dolphins in Florida.
Is it? Will there be anything about this story that I can look back on it and go, I can see now? Yeah, okay.
Maybe we overreacted a bit. I can't see it.
We always overreact, but the trouble is, Coronation Street needs us to care. But I'm slowly finding myself not caring. Like now, I don't really care about Julie because I've got to protect my brain from being devastated. I can't invest emotionally in this story because it's too hard on me, and they don't want that. They want us to really fight for the show and want the show, want to have certain expectations of the show. But at the moment, I'm like, well, why should I care about Julie coming back if she's gonna die? Why should I care about whatever happens next? What will happen with Jenny? I love Jenny, but what will happen to her? What horrible thing will happen to her? What will happen to Daisy? What will happen to Daisy's baby? Do I care? Not. Do I want to care? That's the thing. Do I want to care? Because I'm not like reading a bloody Russian Civil War book or anything, am I? I'm watching Coronation Street. If I was like watching a World War II documentary, I might expect a few harrowing scenes and tears.
We had Game of Thrones for that, didn't we?
Yeah, if I want to see, even
anyone could drop dead at any
Game
minute.
of Thrones, they didn't get cancer. They wouldn't go that far. We wanted to subvert expectations, so at the end, Daenerys just died of cancer.
Yeah, well, I could even think that there's when we found out that Kevin was going to get cancer, we were like, oh great, here we go. But even then, slightly, I could see that there might be some dramatic and good reason for it to happen. As unnecessary as it is, but this...
How Kate Brooks sold it was, it's going to be a kind of I can't remember again exactly what she said, but the impression I was given was like it's not going to be a dark and hopeless story, but it feels like she was going, we're saving that for Julie.
Literally, it does, and I still want to give Kate Brooks the benefit of a doubt, and we were genuinely still excited by some of the things that she said that happened this year.
Write her off.
It is far too soon, but this is.
This is it's one of these things. It's like, it is baffling. It's like,
it's not just bad.
It's like watching
baffling.
Somebody shoot themselves in the foot, and you're like,
why would you do that?
That really hurt. Well, it's also like watching somebody shoot themselves in the foot and then shoot you in the foot, and you're like, that really hurt. Why have you done this?
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't know, because the gun was there.
Yeah. Awards, eh? I don't know.
It's an award-winning bullet. Like,
right,
sorry.
So, we said we'd stop moaning, but I just.
No, I just felt really bad for you then, because you were like, you had no idea going into this, and I did. And I didn't even think about how much different that makes it. But that's why you were so cross, and I was just like, I don't even care, I've given up on this now.
Yeah. Right, okay.
She's got cancer.
So, she does have cancer.
And she's like, shut up, don't tell anybody.
And then Eileen comes in, and because Todd and George have been able to delay her disappearing off because of this, and Eileen, she's like, oh, how wonderful to see you. It gives her a big hug, and I just love Julie so much, and despite all this horrible diagnosis, she still remained positive and bubbly and lovely, and we kind of learn that the reason she didn't want Eileen to see her is because she doesn't want Eileen to remember her in this state. She wants to remember the lovely bubbly Julie that she maybe hasn't spoken to for 10 years, I don't know. But Julie eventually is worn down by Eileen's offer of a swift one in the pub, so Eileen drags her down to the Rovers, and Todd and George are just left wondering, what on earth do we do? Do we tell Eileen about that? We kind of have to, don't we? So it's another fairly big secret here that's probably they're going to wish that they hadn't kept. They end up there. They end up in the bistro, don't they? And Billy joins them, and Julie's saying, look, I've really, really got to go now. I don't want to miss my train tomorrow. And Todd says, oh, don't worry, I'll take you. Give us a chance to catch up, won't it? So they end up back at the hotel again, actually. And Julie says, right, look, this is when we get the real gut punch. Because I think up to this point as well, in my head, it was okay, it's another cancer storyline, but we didn't know until the end of the episode just how bad it was. And I was hoping, and probably assuming, to be honest, that she was going to be okay and that it was going to be curable. So this was like the double. It was bad enough when you found out that she'd got cancer, and then just to kick you when you're down, she's like, oh yeah, it's stage 4. I'll be lucky to reach the summer. Nothing I can do. I've been looking into alternative palliative care, but that could only give me a couple of extra months, actually. Sorry. And that was basically it for the end of the episode, wasn't it? It's just so depressing
bleak.
And miserable and bleak. Utterly bleak. But I going into Wednesdays, I was still very curious to find out what would happen here. I was less fuming when I put Wednesday's episode on, because you can't stay mad about things like this. I can't stay mad about things like this. And I actually still did really, really love the Julie scenes on Wednesday, because she was still very much the Julie that she wants Eileen to remember. Would you say that you enjoyed all the stuff in the pub? Because I thought there was some lovely classic community stuff there with Brian and Mary and Co in the Rovers. It was lovely. I thought
Wednesdays was I gave it a banging.
Yeah. But did you enjoy this bit of it as well? It wasn't just the Ken and Cassie storyline, or did you not? It's fine to say you didn't.
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
I thought it was fun stuff. Julie comes back.
I'm just really mad about it. I don't want to give it a break.
Julie comes back to number 11 and she says, look, I've decided I'm going to stay around for a bit. I'm going to spend more time with Eileen. Not going to tell her about the cancer, though. She's like saying, yeah, I don't want Eileen wiping my bum and mopping up my spit. And Todd says, well, it's funny you should mention that, because a chap called Paul, I was doing similar sorts of things to him just recently. And she says, no, look, honestly, that's not what I want. And fair play to anybody in that position. It's down to you at the end of the day how much you support you want to be accepting from other people.
Is this story like about learning to accept to be vulnerable? because we already had that with.
Oh, I know. I
don't see.
They're different types of characters, aren't they? They go to the pub, and last week before this bombshell was dropped on us, I was really interested to see how Brian would react, because they had split up, hadn't they? They went to Wales together, and then he came back without her. And I was like, oh, what's Brian going to think? And Brian was brilliant this. I really, really enjoyed Brian on Wednesday's episode. Enjoy those it's all coming back to you. Remember. And he's like, oh, Julie. And
blanked it out.
He like shoves Mary out the way, doesn't he, to go and give his ex a hug. And Mary is looking so put out by this. It feels like that this finally could be the vehicle to get Brian and Mary together, because
Well, they should tell Mary that Julie's dying, because it'd cheer her up.
It probably would, wouldn't it? And we learn that Julie is selling pet supplements.
I don't know if she is. Is she lying?
No, I think that's true. But yeah, her card doesn't work when she goes to pay for the drinks, and I think it's because of all this extra palliative stuff that she's trying to get. But anyway, Mary, when they're talking about pets, she's like determinedly clinging hold of Brian, because I'm right, they're not a couple yet, are they?
No.
They're just very good friends.
So.
Very good friends.
I don't know.
I think that would be bad on Brian if he was blatantly hugging his ex in front of his girlfriend. So I think they are still friends. But it's the sort of thing he'd do. It is the sort of thing that he maybe would do. But anyway, no, Mary says, oh, my only pet is Brian, and like grabs him by the arm. And then Brian offers Julie the other arm, and he's like cock of the walk between these two women. And then we get to see some scenes of him banging on about his time in the environmental department at Weatherfield Council. And Todd takes Julie to one side and says, what's going on with your money? And this is when she reveals about she's spending it all on alternative therapies, but she's going to stop them next week. They're not working. I'm going to go home tomorrow, actually. But it's just really, really lovely pub scenes, and Julie was still on very fine form. Back at number 11 later, Julie sits down with Todd and George, and basically they convince her to stay, don't they?
Well, just stay with us for a bit.
Stay with us for a bit. Eileen
this is what
joins
makes me think
in
she doesn't actually have a pet company.
Oh, maybe she's working from home, isn't it? So Eileen says, well, yeah, I think you should stay as well. So Julie is overwhelmed by the whole thing and says, yep, I'm gonna stay. And yeah, part of me was thinking, I don't know whether I want to see it, and it's really hard because I love this character, but after Monday's episode I was thinking, let her go and die off screen, please. I don't want to see this. I really, really don't. And I'm still in two minds about it.
Even what's her face, Laura, who died of stomach cancer. That was horrible.
Oh gosh, yeah, that was pretty horrible, isn't it? Who's going to be crawling over the top of Julie when this happens to her? Would you rather it happened off screen?
I don't care.
Right. We've had our say about this story. We've got a few little mini stories left. I suppose the Dylan story was fairly lengthy, wasn't it? But I can't say that I was massively inspired by this.
Well, look, I totally understand my bias here, and I don't want to pour cold sick on anybody who enjoys it or thinks it's important or is getting something out of it. I don't want to make anyone feel bad or like I don't support you or write in and let us know what you think. I'd rather people wrote in and said, "Oh no, I think it's good," because I won't agree with you, but I do try to be balanced.
I challenged Kate Brooks to write into us and say why she thought this was a good idea.
It's not down to anyone to do. The thing is about all these stories is that they all do happen, and you don't need to justify anything. I don't want anyone to have to. A story that needs extraneous justification shouldn't be in the show. The story should be justified by the results that you get. And what I'm saying is we don't know what those are yet. And I can't see a way in which at the end of this I'll go, okay, well, I was wrong. I just genuinely cannot see. Like, I am wrong about things, and I do say when I'm wrong about things. And sometimes I don't say when I'm wrong about things, but everybody knows anyway. I don't pretend to be an infallible beacon of all knowledge about everything. So whatever, but
time will tell.
I just genuinely do think that the majority of people did not want this and did not ask for this and are not going to enjoy it.
No.
And
the amount that it blew up on social media on Monday night pretty much confirms that. And I know we're in a bit of a bubble and we see a lot more of it, but yeah, people were pretty fuming.
But to be perfectly clear, I would be thrilled to be proven wrong. I just cannot see at all.
I would much rather enjoy Corrie than be smug about being right. I'm no Daniel Osborne here.
Hope not, anyway. Right, so let's talk about Dylan the villain.
Oh.
On Monday, Betsy comes around and sees Dylan, and Sean's like, "Don't do anything I literally wouldn't do."
I kind of a bit forgetful about the status of Betsy and Dylan before this week, so I wasn't particularly. This story wasn't particularly gripping me.
Well, they both go on the sofa, and she's coming on to him, and then she gives him a snog, and then it looks like she doesn't know what she wants, and she's upset, and then Sean comes in and is like, "What are you doing? I distinctly told you not to." And we're supposed to be meeting Adam. So Dylan calms Sean down, and then he says, like, I'm not having any, that's me and Betsy, don't worry about it. And Sean says, look, all we need to worry about is the trial. You need to make everyone think you're sorry. You need to make everyone think you're sorry about what happened, and it will be fine.
So going into Wednesday, which is when the trial is, it was pretty a lock-in that he was going to be getting some sort of custodial sentence here, wasn't it? There was no real way that he could get out of this.
Consider that he wouldn't.
No. But there was a little bit of unnecessary drama on Wednesday.
Well, I don't know. You say unnecessary drama, but you've got to fill it with something. They can't all have cancer, can they? So on Wednesday...
But Wednesdays was good, and maybe this was a bit of a weak link in Wednesdays, but...
Lauren sees Dylan looking miserable in the precinct, and she's like, hello, I'm also miserable.
This was interesting, wasn't it? This was a very rare Coronation Street scene of two characters that have been in it, a decent amount of time, who literally introduce each other... Because introduce themselves to each other, because in real life
they wouldn't know
not everybody knows each other, but in Coronation Street we've just been conditioned to believe that as soon as somebody shows up on the street, everybody suddenly knows who they are and probably has got their mobile number in their address book.
But with a little egg instead of their picture.
And these two, the teens often will hang out together. The precinct is the hot place to be, isn't it?
I would have thought if anyone who we haven't seen on screen before knew each other, it would have been Dylan and Lauren.
Yeah, they flipping live right near each other, don't they?
They live in the same place.
in the same block of flats.
Wow.
So I thought it was very refreshing, but it made me go, whoa, when she introduced each other. I was like, oh, maybe they should do more of that.
Well, she says, look, act tough and you'll get through it, because this is going to be hard. You need to be on guard.
Yeah. I've murdered somebody and I've got away with it. So
I want to know how...
Maybe it'll be okay for you.
I know that she did have struggles, but just remember, Lauren, you're giving advice to a boy going into, a man prison, and you went to the mother and baby unit, okay?
I also like her advice to act tough. This is advice coming from the biggest crybaby on the street last year.
No.
Don't do what I did.
Don't just cry all the time.
Yeah,
they'll
Weatherfield Waterworks at every minute.
They give you an award.
I've learned from experience here.
Right, Alia wishes Dylan luck, and Sean's still giving her the cold shoulder about the fact that she's representing the Warners. And
that was supposed to be on Thursday's episode, wasn't it?
She's like,
Matty and what's it?
He says, like, according to you, they're all the same, aren't they? They all did the same thing. She's like, I can't get involved with this, but good luck, Dylan. And Sean's like, just tell the truth and it will all be fine. So, unfortunately, I don't know whether he was thinking of this advice, but Dylan runs his mouth during the trial, and when he defends himself, he kind of makes it worse. And he says, oh, I'm being haunted. And they're like, oh, really? Not like Abby, though.
Yeah.
Where's the ghost, then? Point to the ghost in this room if you're being haunted. Didn't think so.
Yeah,
anyway,
he says he's just having
the judge is like, what do you mean? You were carrying the knife to scare people? Well, that's a completely different charge. We're going to have to think about this again.
Yeah, he kind of says, well, everybody carries knives. You kind of need to. And he kind of half admits that he did it to threaten somebody, but why else would you take it with you? But he said it now, so the story goes off on a little tangent at this point.
Because they were like, well, if the judge changes the crime here, which you've just admitted you did, charge, then you could be facing 2 years in prison. And Adam's like,
Dylan,
what can I do about this?
Dylan.
And Sean's like, it's all your fault. So they come back, and the judge is like, I looked at the paperwork, and to be honest with you, it's a lot more, so we just keep it as it
Just
is.
just wanted to put an extra little cliffhanger in there, Dylan. To be honest, you're all right. You're
Yeah,
all right.
you're fine. Sentencing time. You chose to do this. Someone died, so you're getting 6 months.
I'm going to give
He
you.
does a bit of maths, doesn't he? He goes, "Oh, it would have been 9 months," and then I'll give you another bit.
I thought it was a lady judge.
I thought it was a man judge.
I can't remember.
It's always a lady normally.
I thought it was a lady, but
Well,
maybe
it's
it
like,
was a man.
give you 9 months, take 3, carry the 1, give you another one,
Well,
give you time
I
off
think
for
what
this,
they
and
could
then
do
you
is
get 6
they
months.
calculate how long it would take to have a story in the STC, and also give him a little bit of a breather before he comes out.
Yeah, it's
and
like give
9 months.
Give you 9
6
months. Oh, I'm not going on holiday abroad. I'm just going to Butlins. Oh, right, 6 months then. Fine.
Yeah.
6 months in a secure training centre, which actually sounds way more sinister than prison.
Do you reckon?
It's like, what do you mean training centre? This sounds like communist China or something, like where you give something a euphemism. It's like, it's not a prison, it's a training centre.
They're going to brainwash you.
Yeah. So
into being law-abiding.
So Sean is left alone with Dylan and
Secure
getting
training
panicky.
centre sounds like something that Rowan was trying to save up for next after he's done the resource centre.
Secure training centre. Where if you don't drop and give us 10, I'll shoot you in the face. So anyway, Sean was like, Sean is one of the few people on Coronation Street who actually seems to react when somebody they know goes to prison. Because he's like going, oh my god, oh, I can't believe this is happening. Like, this is what you would be like.
I totally believed him. Anthony Cotton, again,
He's really
I will
good.
say it, a real gem for Coronation Street when they give him the right material. He was fab. And yeah, you're right. He was like his whole
I can't believe this is
world
happening.
had collapsed.
How has this happened?
Yeah.
Like, everyone else
my son
is so very stoic, aren't they? Like, oh, I write to you, I'll visit you every day. But yeah, he just has a meltdown.
Yeah, and the whole wobbly lipped.
Yeah.
He was really, really believable. I thought it was great performance.
And it was
from
very
Anthony
sweet
again.
as well when he was saying, like, just don't forget you're a good person with a good heart and you're loved. And I think maybe there's a bit here with like maybe this will be the story that if we follow Dylan in prison, which I'm not.
I think we are because we introduced
we've
to his little prison rival on Thursday, weren't we?
But was this Sean setting up the moral of the story, which is that prison would change you only if you let it, you know? Because the thing is about prison or secure training centres is that they can train you to be an arsehole. And you kind of need to be to survive.
It seems like that's what's happened with all the other
other
people, all
ones,
the broccoli hag bunch on
we all
Thursday.
none of us looked like this when we came in, and we were all really mad about it.
I kind of left wondering, I'm waiting to be convinced that sending Dylan away was a good idea. I loved the knife episode. Everybody did. Well, most people did, and there was really no other way that story could have gone without Dylan going inside. But yeah, I'm kind of thinking, this doesn't, we've only just had a bit of an inside prison story with Max not too long ago when he was in the same place, and I don't really need to see a story in the STC, but it looks like we're getting one. Is it feeling a little bit like treading
feels like
the same wheat
vu,
field here, a bit of deja vu, yeah.
Oh, you're gonna make a crop circle?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, this is the thing. You're going around in circles. But
I'm not invested enough in the character of Dylan, sadly, as much as I really do think that Liam McShane is a great character. Maybe it will make me care, and it's semi-interesting to see Daniel working there again, but I am thinking most prison stories are kind of the same on Coronation Street. You go in there and there's some bullies there.
But I just can't believe that if you took away, like, honestly, it feels as though if you took away prison, hospital, and the police station, Coronation Street wouldn't know what to do.
It didn't,
and it never needed all these sets, and it never needed
prison stories don't happen as much as the others.
No, but even so, they're happening much more frequently. And I remember it was kind of a bit of a wow, it looks like they've made a set for this. They've made a prison set. And I remember us talking about, maybe it was when Sally went in, but they never needed one before. They've not even, it doesn't feel like they've broken it down since.
No.
And the cabin, meanwhile, which is a place where normal people go every day to do normal things that can still be entertaining and fun with characters you want to see doing normal stuff. They haven't shown that on screen for over a year.
And last year it was only in 3 episodes, I think.
What the heck? I'm not even going to go on about it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm willing to give this story a chance, but I'm not excited to see what Dylan's up to.
The thing is about it is there anything unique and different about every prison story? I mean, they are kind of different, always a bit different, but is it different enough? I don't think so.
I'd be much more interested in following Sean during this time and seeing how losing his son again affects him.
That's the thing. There are so many untold stories. Anyway,
but I do hope that it gives them a chance to get Sean in it more, doing more serious stuff, because he's really, really good at it. So there's that.
Adam, Alia and Sean are in the pub later, and Adam's saying, look, because Sean keeps saying, oh, I'm going to do something about it, don't worry, I'll get you out, this is wrong.
Yeah, he wants
Adam's
to get the sentence changed,
it's literally, that's it. So Dylan goes to the detention centre, and they're like, oh, look, fresh bait. And he's like, yeah, what? You will say that again? And
he tries to act tough for about half a second, doesn't he, following Lauren's advice.
Have a front, don't you?
Yeah.
So on Thursday, Daniel goes to work for once. Weird. Sean says to him, can you keep an eye on Dylan? So he goes in and he sort of checks on him and it's like,
he does it very subtly. He tries to do it subtly.
You're all right. Your dad asked me.
Oh, he say, you're Dylan, aren't you? And at that time I was thinking, does he not know Dylan either in the same way as Lauren, or is this all part of the ruse?
He's acting.
But, yeah.
Isn't he good at it? So one of the other lads sees this and he's like, oh, how do you know each other?
Oh, have I written him down? Oh, I thought I'd written this kid's name down. Oh, Brody. Brody
is that the
this
character's
guy.
name?
Yeah. Brody.
Oh, I'm going to say anything about that.
is that I'm sorry for any Brodies that are listening, but is it a name?
It's a broccoli haircut name. So Brody.
Brody.
Sounds like a horse.
Oh, I really feel bad for anybody that knows a Brody. But it's a great name for the character. It matches the character. Yeah. I will say that.
Lots of children have very unique and interesting names, don't they?
They do, yeah.
These days.
They do.
Don't just call them Elizabeth and Michael
and Gemma, no.
No. So Dylan says, yeah, okay, I used to live on the same road. And they're like, oh, you're posh.
Oh, yeah, that seems to be, last year Mason was all about calling Liam Rat and Rat Boy.
Yeah.
And it looks like the cool, edgy insult this year is Posh Boy.
Yeah, so they're like, oh, you're posh. And
they're so pre-watershed, these villains, aren't they?
Yeah, so he's just being picked on. And then he calls Sean and he says, oh, it's not so bad. But Sean's like, don't just look after yourself and don't mess around with the wrong sort.
Yeah. I wonder how much Daniel is going to be involved in this, considering he's already got a fairly meaty storyline on the go. I mean, it feels like he clearly is. But maybe when it all goes wrong, maybe he's going to find out the truth sooner than you think, and he's going to just react by buckling down with his work, and I don't know.
I mean, honestly, if you wanted to have a story where a young character, goes and has to live with a bunch of people they don't know and phone their dad and say, oh, it's going all right the first week, but I'm a bit scared and it's a bit intimidating, and I'm the teacher's here and I'm going to try and learn, and make the most of my time there. You could do a story about going to university, because it's basically the same thing. Yeah,
the fact that if you're a teen on Coronation Street, you're an awful likely to go to prison than you are to university.
Oh dear.
I'd quite like to see a scene with like Sean and Eileen maybe getting together. I think it's been cool to see Sean getting his own flat, but he's so isolated now, isn't he? And he's going to be really, really struggling. So I'd like to think that he does go back to Todd or George or Eileen and maybe get a bit of succor from them. And talking of suckers, I feel like one myself for believing that Kevin's story wouldn't end up being quite so depressing as it was, because yes, that's right, after a little bit of respite of somebody going to prison, we're back to another cancer story to cheer ourselves up with.
It's a cancer sandwich with prison in the middle.
It's a cancer sandwich, isn't it? Or is it a prison sandwich?
It's a prison sandwich with cancer filling.
It's carcinogenic bread.
Yeah, it's banned in the state of California.
We didn't have a whole lot about this on. There was nothing on Monday and very little on Wednesday. It's basically Kevin starting to get the idea that Abby and Ronnie are getting close together, which I think is a little side route for this story that really, really isn't needed. But he hears the pair of them talking together about Kevin needing support, and Kevin at the end of the episode tries to have a bit of hanky-panky time with Abby. He invites her up to the bedroom, and Abby says, look, I don't want to risk it. You just... that was a very purposeful putting your cider bottle down there, wasn't it? It's like, okay, I've got to say something in another cancer storyline. She says, look, I don't want to risk it. You just come out of surgery. I hear that in Weatherfield, the surgeons are so good that when you come out of major surgery, you can go on the run, flip over a balcony, still survive. So actually, Kevin,
problem?
I think actually, Kevin, you probably would be fine. But Abby, I mean, maybe that's what makes Kevin even more worried that there's something else going on with Abby, because he knows that he's ready for it. Yeah.
Well, he also is probably feeling the cold, icy breath of karma on his neck, because when Sally had cancer and he was being so diligent a husband, as she keeps telling everybody, he was actually shagging away with Molly.
Yeah, true.
So it would be your just desserts, Kevin.
So Thursday is where it all goes horribly, horribly wrong for Mr. Webster. And they start off having breakfast in the cafe, the Webster bunch, Ronnie, Abby, that lot. And Kevin is still very nervous. Ronnie's trying to reassure him and saying, look, it's whatever happens, it's going to be fine here. So they go to the hospital. Kevin's looking at the miserable posters on the wall. And then when they go in to see the chest specialist, he's got cancer in his lymph nodes.
Oh,
so
God.
It kind of basically means it's spread elsewhere.
I know, that's horrifying.
It doesn't... I'm not getting the impression that this is, his body is riddled with it.
Well, that's what I thought, but I'm obviously wrong.
I don't know enough about it, because it's not something that I really want to learn too much about, but... Yeah.
Well, this is your fault then. Until you can pass a test.
You're right. My awareness is not raised enough about this.
We're not going to be able to get away from it.
Just admitted
Shut up.
it.
You're going to get the whole class in trouble.
There is 100% no way that Kevin... I'm going to be touching wood all over the place here. There is no way that Kevin is going to die from this. Would you agree?
I would be incredibly shocked. I would be very shocked.
Yeah. So... At least there's that, everybody, all the Kevin fans out there.
I think maybe I might be so... I don't know, would that be the nail in the coffin or something?
Maybe it would, but he's not...
Well, I mean, literally, but can we just transition to doing classic Coronation Street instead of normal Coronation Street?
Well, we have just had a death on classic Coronation Street this week, haven't we, with Mike Baldwin?
Well, it's all right then. It's safe to return to it.
Anyway, so... Kevin's just like, bloody Nora. They go home. Abby's trying to chivvy Kevin up, but he admits that he is completely terrified, justifiably, at this point. And Abby says, well, I'd better not go to my counselling session. I want to stay here with you. And he's like, no, it's fine, honestly. I just want to blob in front of the TV. He's trying to put a bit of a brave face on it at first, but he ends up, understandably, getting a little bit ants in his pants watching the TV, so heads off to work to try and take his mind off it. We have some scenes with Tim. There's a few moments where Tim's trying to raise the mood in it by having a few jokes, and it ends up with Kevin just having a go at him, doesn't it? Smashing his mug of coffee or whatever over the floor, saying, "Look, sorry, Tim, I can't see the funny side of this." Tim's like saying, "Oh, how's your hair gonna be? We'll be twins. You'll be bald." And Kevin is not in the mood for this, and I think fair enough that you're not in the mood for your mates trying to. It's hard though, because what do you do?
Well, it's like
what do you do?
It literally, like, it's the coping mechanism that I use on this show to talk about cancer. It's like make fun of it or like make a joke out of it, because I don't have like the maturity or the mental ability to do anything else.
And you're a smart bird, Tim. He's certainly not going to, is he?
But what do you do? And on Corrie, quite often, the character will say something incredibly like poignant and spot on, and even if you wouldn't have reacted well, the person they're saying it to does. And like, oh, that's the perfect thing to say. But in real life, it's really hard, and I think it's everyone's worst nightmare to. Well, of course, it's not your worst nightmare, but it's a scary thought when you're talking to someone who's dealing with some kind of awful, emotional thing like grief or divorce or cancer or whatever it is, and you're like, I'm going to put my foot in it and say something stupid, and so a lot of people will just not literally talk to the person, and this is like that played out on screen, because now Tim is not going to want to talk to Kevin again because
he thinks he might say something wrong.
Like you feel guilty and you feel like your ego gets bruised a bit too, because you're like, I'm just trying to help here, but I literally don't have the tools to do anything about it.
Well, Tim's kind of missed a trick, really, because he was trying to compare Kevin's cancer to his impotence the other year, didn't he? And this is what really drives Kevin over the edge, because he's like, sorry, this is nothing like it. But Tim did have major heart surgery a few years ago as well, where his life was on the line.
It is quite funny that he picked the fact that he couldn't get it up as like the worst thing that's ever happened to him.
We both I've had problems downstairs as well.
It's like, you nearly died, Tim.
Yeah,
but I couldn't have sex with my wife. It was worse. All right, Tim.
Yeah, maybe he'll remember that next week, and that's what we'll get him friends.
Maybe he can play that card
Kevin again,
and then what will Kevin be left with?
I want thinking about Tim as a character and why he would do that. I wonder whether there is a case for him as like, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I've been through some major health scares myself. I'm okay. And that might make, if he's a bit of an optimist, which I think Tim probably is, he might think, well, I'm okay, so you probably will be too.
Yeah. Yeah, but it is just easier to joke about things.
Yeah.
Because then it feels like it's like, it can't be that bad if we're laughing about it.
Well, of course, this story up until this point has been more on the lighter side, and Kevin's been happy to play along with the ball jokes, hasn't he?
He's just snapped
the ball
now
gags.
because it's all become very serious.
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
not a joke anymore.
Because he's been told, by his neighbours, his family, and just general society that testicular cancer is, I think somebody even said it on the show, one of the good ones to get, because if it's caught early enough, then it's okay. And I think he'd maybe been lulled into a false sense of security about this, with everyone saying, it's fine, it'll be all right, don't worry about it, let's have a few jokes about it. And now, he's had the rug pulled from underneath him. So,
and it's also, who's got any good jokes about lymph nodes?
Yeah, that is a very...
No one.
Yeah.
They're not even funny, are they?
I can't even think of anything to do with that, no. So anyway, he's fuming at Tim, and then he starts railing on to him about, this is chemo, seriously. Sadly, just at that moment, Jack and Abby walk over to him. Alfie still needs to have this broken to him, I'm afraid to say.
I don't think Alfie cares.
No, sorry. So Debbie and Jack, that's it. Debbie and Jack walk up to him and they hear about the chemo. So Kevin goes back home with Debbie, who's rocking her amazing leopard jumper, which we kind of, that's our bit of clothing that when it appears on Coronation Street, we do a little cheer. That's the Gadass of clothing, isn't it?
She's wearing her special leopard jumper.
Yes. And he says, well, I just couldn't cope with sitting there looking at the four walls. I needed to get out to work. And Debbie says, look, that's fair enough, but you got to control your emotions. Things are going to get pretty intense here, Kev. You're a massive crank, and you need to watch out. Kevin can't stick with it. He huffs off.
Well, this is kind of, I feel quite frustrated in a way, but maybe this is the point of this, and I'm perfectly happy to go along with one if they want. I was happy for them to do this story. I didn't mind. I was okay with this. It's the extra one that I can't cope with. But like, this was interesting because, when Sinead had cancer, or when Toya had cancer, nobody was like, oh, let's make a joke about it. And then when they reacted or like cried, and I don't remember because I didn't watch either of them really, so I'm just gonna guess. But like when they cried, people were like, oh. But like Kevin doesn't have that release valve because he's a man of a certain age, of a certain class of people, a blokey bloke, right? He can't cry, and like many men, his emotional release is anger. So that's his coping mechanism. Okay, so he's like rah, because that's how he knows to like relieve the pressure. And so what does he get? A smack round, a smackdown. Debbie's like, control yourself. You must control yourself. And yeah, it would be better if he had a healthy way of expressing himself, but he doesn't, and that's how he does it. And so he's kind of like being schooled. He's being,
Yeah, he's being told that he can't react naturally,
and it isn't healthy to be angry. But what she should have said, I guess, was like, you can cry. You can't throw things and shout at people, but you can cry if you want to. He'd
literally only been told this news hours before. I think he can react.
But you see what I mean? Of course he can. It's just not healthy. It's not healthy that there's an entire group of people, and I'm talking about manly men who don't have
people like me. You mean
people who can't, people who just are so repressed by society, and you can say what you want about how much agency they've got as well to buy into it, but like they can't emote unless it's anger. And I think a lot of people have been kidded into thinking that anger is not an emotion and therefore men are never emotional, but men are very emotional because anger is an emotion.
We've all seen Inside Out.
I can't even remember watching it, to be honest with you.
I don't know whether you've seen that.
I don't think I have, but so I don't know what you mean.
It was one of the characters.
Is that the one where they live in a head?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Well, somewhere inside.
Right. So anyway, you're derailing my point.
Sorry. Yes.
So if you're going to justify this story, which I definitely think you can, it's going to be about how do men cope and how can a man deal with his emotions.
I do wonder
in a positive way. And is it positive and healthy to shout and throw a coffee cup? I don't know. I don't think so. It didn't help him with Tim, did it?
No.
But also, if he'd started crying, what the hell would Tim have done? He would have wet his pants and run away because he also doesn't know what to do. Because they're both kind of like they can relax around their wives because they've got this kind of intrinsic permission to be vulnerable with women because women are a safe space.
But Tim has shown sensitivity before, even like with Steve when he's been going through things. I think it would have caught him off guard if Kevin had cried, but I think he would have risen to the challenge and offered a good sympathetic shoulder. But I don't blame him for making jokes about it after that's all they've been kind of doing.
I'm just really talking about having an angry reaction.
Yeah.
But I even think like I don't even know if the women have had an angry reaction, but I also don't think anyone would have told them off or been scared or intimidated because a woman who is angry and even violent is not as scary as a man.
I'm thinking of the scene where Hayley pushes down the
you're
Christmas
right.
tree, and
Yeah,
that was that
true.
was 3-4 weeks before curtains for her. But
that came at the very end, didn't it?
Yeah,
But I don't recall anyone sort of going, now you must control yourself.
I don't know. I can't remember what Roy was doing there. So we had I forgot. I'm just kind of wondering, is the purpose of these dual cancer storylines to show people dealing with it in different ways? Is Kevin going to learn from Julie that it's okay to be cheery? Or is Julie going to learn it's okay to kick off and smash mugs around everywhere? Because, bless her, she's still doing a really hard thing of putting a brave face on a very, very bleak outlook in life. And yeah, it doesn't feel like they're going to cross over, just because those families don't really have anything to do with each other, despite the fact that they live next door to each other. This is number 11 and number 13. We've got Cancer Central there. So maybe.
But even if it did, right, and even if there's even like a scene where they're both in the same support group or something and they have a breakthrough and it's like amazing and they get a BAFTA and whatever, I'm still going to say I don't like it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, there is potential. Okay, and if that, you know what, if that's where this is heading and that's where they go and they get the best writer and they perform amazingly and they do a brilliant and everyone, whatever, I'll say good for you. I'll say great, well done. You know? Can
you not do it again though, please?
That would be your justification. I don't think it would be enough for me, but whatever, because I'm bitter and twisted, so it doesn't. No, who cares what I think?
Right. So, with that, Joy, there's still a bit more to this story. It's basically we've got we got more of
development of the jealousy.
Yeah, because Ronnie goes to the cafe for a confidential cheese toasty. But don't tell Debbie about it.
Is it cheese on toast or is it a cheese toasty?
No, I think it's cheese toasty. It's a cheese toasty.
Because I'm just going to say that there's a definite. I feel like there's going to be an extinction point for cheese toasties, cheese on toast in this country, and we need to protect it as our heritage.
It's our heritage, isn't it?
Cheese toasty is dangerously bordering on grilled cheese American style. Okay, we need to keep our traditions We need to keep cheese on toast.
Well, Welsh rarebit.
Yes, delicious. Bit of Worcester sauce.
No. Abby's there at the cafe as well. She's just come back from her therapy and Ronnie joins her and they just have a little laugh together, really. Abby needs geeing up a bit because she found the therapy session particularly hard, and unfortunately for Kevin, he walks in at the moment that she's laughing. She can see that who she's laughing with, so he basically just for the rest of the episode is looking very jealous and thinking, things hotting up between my wife, who spurned my romantic advances last night, and my future brother-in-law kind of thing. Well, they're not engaged, are they? But yeah, so that's the end of that, really. Do you think that anything is going to happen between Abby and Ronnie, or is it more likely
it's all in
Kevin's head? Yeah. Maybe he's going to start having visions as well. Of he's going to go upstairs and vision them in bed together. Anything could happen. I'm
trying to remember. Did we not have another story where a medical person was like, "Oh, I don't feel like you"?
Well, probably the Tim one was. The Tim and Sally story.
I don't know. There's only so many stories in the world. I mean, that's the bottom line of it.
I really
can't keep moaning about them doing the same old thing, because it's like there's only so many stories.
There is obviously also the option that Abby has an affair with someone else, and Kevin thinks that she's having an affair with Ronnie. That could happen, couldn't it? But I don't really see the need to complicate a cancer storyline with an affair story. But the whole thing with the Webster house this year, it's just misery central, isn't it? And it's almost like Kevin is thinking that Abby's getting the lion's share of the grief, so he needs a bit more misery himself.
The true unspoken romantic heartbreak that was going on the street and in the Webster's house wasn't even given a scene, because poor Jack was accosted by Hope at school while his dad's battling cancer, and she's like, "I fancy you," and he's like, "I don't really care, love, leave me alone."
Yeah, can you imagine Jack kind of coming into the house and "Dad, I'm really upset something's happened at school today. Like, I haven't got time for your grief, Jack."
Well, I mean, at some point is Kevin going to find out that Kevin he's had this moment and he didn't know about it, and be like, "Oh, what's cancer robbed me of next?"
Right. Speaking of Robs, I'm going to do a nice segue there.
Good one.
He didn't appear in Coronation Street at all this week, did he? But there were a couple of scenes on Monday with the Lisa. Well, no, Lisa didn't appear either.
No.
This was a thing on social media, wasn't it? People
Where's
looked on the cast list for this week's Coronation Street and saw that Vicky Myers' name wasn't on it, and some people got very, very nervous about this. But it turned out that the story itself...
She's got cancer and she's died.
Oh God, don't put that out there. The story itself only got like 3 scenes or so on Monday, and it just felt like they explained
the best thing happened on Monday.
What?
Carla kicked Bobby out.
Oh yeah.
She's like, "Bobby, don't come back.
Off you go.
Do not darken my doorstep again."
Yeah. What did you think of Carla's massive Victoria sponge that Roy had made her? I know you're not a Victoria sponge fan, but it did look particularly sumptuous.
Depends on whether it was cream or buttercream.
No, I don't know.
Because if it's cream, then yes. If it's buttercream, no.
There we go. If anyone's fancying making Gemma a cake.
Well, Ryan covered it in sweets.
Oh yeah,
what are you doing?
From a secret sweet stash. He must be a teacher or something.
Oh God, we've got so much. It's like a mad squirrel who's going to get diabetes lives in this house.
I think as I'm getting older as well,
it's harder to get through.
It is harder to get through them. And our friend Rachel, I remember we used to go around her house and she always had like chocolate all over the place. And like, how on earth can you have chocolate in your house and not eat it?
Because you always used to do this and you can't keep up anymore.
I can't.
Because if there was chocolate, you'd be like, "Well, it's my mission. I must eat the chocolate until it's gone."
Yeah.
And now you can't keep up because we literally have so much.
Yeah. Anyway, do you want to just remind us very briefly what happened or didn't happen
home
here?
from the hospital. Hooray! Ryan and Betsy are there, and she's like, "Is Bobby gone? He's not welcome here." And also, Lisa's not here because there's been a murder.
There's been a murder.
And murder of the traitors. So Bobby comes around later.
I like how off the hands Betsy said that. She said, "Oh yeah, there's been a murder, so Mum's not going to come home." Happen all the time around here. There's not actually that
many murders though in this country even that you would be.
Well, that's why she has to stay at work. Then it's
quite
a unique.
Is it like having an Ofsted inspection?
Yeah.
It's
We've got the call.
Thing,
there's been a murder.
So Bobby comes around later to drop his keys off, and he's like, "Oh, here's a card." She's like, "No." I'm sorry, my dad, I love him, my dad. And she's like, look, Bobby, you're not sacked, but I'm done with you. Get out.
Yeah, Ryan's a little bit more sympathetic, isn't he?
Whatever,
Considering how last week they were locking horns a little bit.
You've dropped him in it, Ryan. So Carla's starting to feel a bit worn down over Bobby and tells Ryan that it might be her fault. And that she and then she's like, I might have accidentally killed Rob because I pushed him over the side. And maybe he's out there alive and he wants to murder me. So that's a bit worrying, isn't it? Can you just check the locks?
Yeah, so that was about it for that, really, wasn't it? Then Rob did get a mention, actually, though. I can't remember which day it was, by Tracy. She has acknowledged
what did she say?
his existence. I think she just said something along the lines of, I hope he's not going to turn up here.
So I'll throw an air fryer at his face.
Yeah. I can't remember.
No, I
can't remember what the state was between them when he last went into prison, because I know that she'd been on the run with him.
Maybe this is why she's got no patience for Cassie too. It's like, I can't believe I'm dealing with my ex-boyfriend running around trying to murder people, escaped from prison, only got one kidney, and now you here poisoning my dad.
Maybe he's gonna come round and he's gonna set her on Cassie.
Who? Tracy?
Tracy's gonna set Rob on Cassie.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe,
good idea.
Maybe.
Don't hold her hostage though, because no one cares.
Platts, just to finish this off.
One?
This is the final one. We have reached the end of it. It's basically just David still being very, very silly and naughty and doing getaway driving jobs for Andy. And then he gets beaten up because Andy sets some fellow yobs onto David. And he gets his, however much cash it was, couple of grand, wasn't it? Gets it nicked off of him.
I think that's it. I think you don't need to go into
that's it.
detail.
Except he goes home and he's taken a bit of a beating, and Shona obviously notices, and he confesses to her what's been going on, and
he doesn't. She immediately twigs it's Andy, and he's like, "No, it can't be." And Shona's like, "No, I definitely."
Oh yeah, that's right.
I definitely think it's him. He's behind.
It was Andy engineered this beating up because that's quite coincidental that you just happened to be beaten up on the day that. You had a load of money while nobody else would know that you'd had that. And David's like, no, honestly, Andy's on the level.
Andy would never do anything underhand. He's a criminal.
Yeah. So that was kind of misery stuff, wasn't it? I think, why would David?
It didn't even register at this point with me that it was a miserable story.
It was miserable, but it's just David making really silly decisions, and I really cannot see that this will end in David going into prison for anything that he's done.
No, it doesn't feel like
again,
that.
They wouldn't throw David in prison for the third, fourth time, would they? So everything that he's doing like this, I'm thinking I can already see there's not going to be a suitable consequence for it.
I think there might be, but I don't think there's going to be criminal.
Yeah.
Reckoning.
Not going to be brought to justice. But anyway, that was this week's
Wasn't
Coronation
that good?
Street.
Did you like that?
Bits of it. Obviously, Wednesday was a real beacon of hope for the week, and it was this week was a bit of a sandwich as well, wasn't it? With a delicious filling in between.
Sandwich.
No, it's a delicious filling in between two slightly. One bit of bread had some mould on it, and the other one was just a bit sad and floppy.
Wholemeal.
Again, like last week.
Disgusting.
It had seeded bread. Yeah.
Oh no.
You don't mind that.
No, I know.
I'm the fussy
one.
Quite
like it with corn.
Like last week, where I thought that Monday and Wednesdays were really disappointing with Rob on the one, but
on the run.
Rob on the one, but Friday brought it up and it ended up being a 3.
Isn't it? Yeah.
I think that I'm probably going to go the same this week, and if Wednesday hadn't been so brilliant, this would have easily been kind of a 2. But I think there's no way that this can be a 3.5. I feel maybe bad giving it a 2.5. And Monday's episode wasn't too bad. It was just the horrible revelation from Julie that brought it down. I still did quite enjoy, as much as I don't like what they're doing with Jenny at the moment particularly, I still did quite enjoy the Daisy and Daniel
I like
drama.
just having Jenny in it, because she's been not in it. And having a story.
Yeah, I'm going to give this week's Coronation Street 3 arrested bitches out of 5, and you're lucky to get that, to be honest. What about you?
What's your character of the week?
Oh, Ken.
Yeah, Ken
for sure.
My character of the week.
No contest.
I'm gonna
no Ken test. I'm getting tired now. Go on, what about you?
Well, I'm going to score this out of vindictive podcasters, and I'm going to give this one.
Vindictive? You're going to give it one what?
1.
Well, you're scoring it a 1?
1 vindictive podcaster out of 5.
Why a 1?
Because I'm being a vindictive podcaster.
Wow.
I'm really mad.
I was the one that was more fuming on Monday. Maybe I've got all my anger out by then, and I'm being more lenient now that a few more days have passed.
I mean, I would never give it a 1, really, ever. I can't justify it at all. It is vindictive and petty and mean because I loved Wednesdays, and I liked Ken being the centre of attention, and William Roach proving how great he is,
and the fact that he was the one to bring Cassie down was brilliant because it gave him agency, and he wasn't just a doddery old fool.
And I love Cassie. I love that character and how complicated she is, and I loved her just like fair cop governor kind of stuff. And I thought, I love Debbie. I love even the stuff with Kevin was okay. But yeah, 1.
You can't give it a 1 every week that Julie's going to be sick, but I'll allow it for this week.
Can I not give it a 1 for having 2 cancer diagnoses in the same week? Because that's ridiculous. It's honestly ridiculous.
Well, she wasn't diagnosed this week, but I'll let you
We
received the diagnosis.
A revelation that somebody's got a terminal diagnosis, and a revelation that somebody else's cancer has spread to lymph nodes. And I'm not even watching Casualty or ER or any of those crappy shows that I would never watch anyway because I don't like medical stories.
Dr. Pimple Popper.
I wouldn't even watch that.
I'm sure that there's plenty of joy and comedy and light-hearted moments coming next week. But yeah, for the moment, disappointing Coronation Street. Please.
Well, you can do so much better because Wednesdays was fantastic.
And honestly, a lot of January, and I will keep remembering this, a lot of January we were singing Coronation Street's praises. We just need more Drunk Leanne, and then everything's going to be okay.
No one can take it personally because I said before, you could have the best cancer story in the world, right? You could get, you could even get it directed by Michael Bay, and at the end they blow up the tumour. But aliens come down and just blow it up, and I would still go, well, I'm not going to watch that because I don't like it.
Okay, look, we need to end this now. This has been a fairly long street talk, but I think the week has earned it really. But I think we're done.
I'm done.
Yeah.